Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to this special presentation of Polar Wildcat Studios titled CALDER Clause, the making of AHL Max. In this presentation, I'll be explaining an American Hockey League related project that I've put together called AHL Max. In addition, I'll also be talking about details on each of the picks in the gallery, how and why AHL Max was created, how I became a fan of the American Hockey League, how the league has affected me in terms of the art that I draw, and other details relating to the AHL and whatnot. And here's a list of what I'm going to be going through, as some I've already mentioned. We're also going to talk about how I got into the furry community, because of course, as a fan of mascots for sports teams, especially one in particular from the American Hockey League, the Worcester Ice Cats mascot Scratch, how that led to the creation of Cyan, my persona. And also later on, I'm going to reveal, in addition to the AHL Max series, a picture I drew of the Colorado Eagles mascot Slapshot. When AHL Max was first drawn and completed back in 2017, the Colorado Eagles were not in the AHL yet. It won't be until the following year, in 2018, that the Colorado Eagles were moved from the ECHL to the AHL, and that I would draw this picture. You're going to see the world premiere of that picture tonight. Also, I have a special announcement regarding a defunct edition of AHL Max. More details on that. And a Q&A session at the end. Okay, a couple of rules to go by. Rules regarding the chat. If you plan on using the chat, first and foremost, when using this chat, please be nice. Be respectful of everyone else in chat. No harassing others, no personal attacks, no trying to start drama or trying to start trouble of any kind. Golden rule, treat people the way you would like to be treated. Secondly, spamming is not allowed, of course. No posting advertisements without my permission, or posting a chat every 1/10 of a second. And also, please note that I cannot review the chat 100% of the time, as I'll be multitasking throughout this presentation. I'll read your responses whenever I get the chance to. If you'd like me to read any responses you may have, please be patient, and I'll get to that. Now, first of all, a little bit about me. Here's me, my default version. I am Richard Rossiardi, my legal name. I was born March 13th, 1984 at Newton Wellesley Hospital, Newton, Massachusetts. And I'm currently residing in a neighboring city of Waltham, Massachusetts. I am an artist, of course. A sports fan, of course. A 90s kid. Love the 90s, and also fond of decades prior to that. I mean, the 20th century was so much more better than today's. So much better than the present time. I mean, I'm so glad nostalgia is making a rise. And gaining an audience of our generation and the younger generation. I am a costume performer. I became a fursuiter last year once I got my fursuit of Cyan from More for Less. I am a goofball. I do get silly. I like to laugh and make other people laugh because laughter is the best medicine. I want to do good for my community. Like I said, making people happy is just what I want to do. To help people feel better, feel more stronger. It's my belief that happiness generates willingness and motivation to make people better and make them more motivated to do better things. And also I'm a fan of electronic music, like trance, there's house, electro. I've gone to synthwave, and I got into all sorts of other subgenres of electronic music and electronic dance music. Version 2, this is my persona, Cyan Glacier Tooth. He is a New England polar wildcat, or the scientific name Felis frosticus. You can find me in the northeastern US, where it's like really cold. He's a nice cat after all. And despite being a big cat, he's really not so dangerous. He has the same characteristics as me, the creator, including willingness to generate happiness for others. Now let's mix live action and tuning us together, and you get version 3. Here's me in my cyan fursuit thanks to More Fur Less. And I show you version 4, which I'm also a 1957 Cadillac, but nah, you won't see. I don't want to get into the details. Let's just move on. Now, what is AHL Max, you might wonder? Well, the AHL portion of the name stands for American Hockey League. The American Hockey League is a professional hockey league in North America. It has been around since 1936 after two smaller hockey leagues, the Can-Am Hockey League and the original International Hockey League, merged together. And it was originally called the International American Hockey League up until they dropped the international part and just rebranded itself as American Hockey League, plain and simple. League's headquarters are located in Springfield, Mass, and their CEO is Dave Andrews, CEO and president, I should say, who has been the CEO and president since 1994. And the AHL has been the leading development hockey league with more than 9 out of 10 NHL players having played in the AHL. Players who currently play in the NHL, who used to play in the AHL, one in particular, Tuukka Rask of the Boston Bruins. Some AHL fans from like a decade ago may have seen a news report on like ESPN or whatever about Tuukka going berserk after a bad call during a Providence Bruins game. Yeah, you get what I mean. That's the AHL. Now the Max part. The Max portion of AHL Max stands for Mascot Art Exhibition. And yes, I know exhibition begins with the letter E, not X. And I could call it AHL May, but that would mean I would have to have May Borowski in this presentation. Well, technically I do. Look at it. And yeah, put her in an AHL jersey and replace her baseball bat with a hockey stick that she can use to smash ceiling lights with. But yeah, it's Max, not May. The Max portion stands for Mascot Art Exhibition. So this is artwork of mascots in the American Hockey League. As you can see, Devil Dog, for example, he's a mascot of the Binghamton Devils, formerly the Albany Devils and formerly the Lowell Devils. So therefore, I drew art of him. He's in this exhibition, which we'll see later. And what made me decide to do a project like this? Well, having been following the league since January 2000, after seeing my first game in Worcester, it was between the Worcester Ice Cats and the Albany River Rats, I saw the league as very professional. We have a lot of teams here in the Northeast, so I was really grateful you won't have to travel too far from where I live just to see these teams. And yeah, even though it's considered minor league, it's still very professional. and yet, very underrated. I can understand why it's underrated, but still. As for the mascot aspect of it, of course I'm a fan of sports mascot to begin with. One mascot in particular, Scratch, as I already mentioned, the Worcester Ice Cats mascot, was the inspiration behind my persona, Cyan. You can see me fursuiting as Cyan in my Worcester Ice Cats hockey jersey, holding my Scratch plushie. The little tiny Scratch plushie I have. See, Scratch is happy. He's always smiling. And, hold on a sec. So, okay. So, of course, with being a mascot fanatic and all that, it's no surprise I would put together a project like this. A fan of both the American Hockey League and of mascots in general, combine the two. And let's get to the details on let's get to all the details of me leading up to this project. Summer of 1994, my first ever exposure to anything AHL related was the Worcester Ice Cats. Okay, here's me at age 10 visiting Albany. Yeah, the Riverettes had a team at the time, but I wasn't aware that the team existed. That wouldn't be until 5 years later. But yeah, the Worcester Ice Cats was how I discovered anything AHL really, I should say. Basically, during the summer of 1994, on WLVI TV channel 56, they were advertising the team as part of like a compilation of advertisements, all in one commercial, I would say. I remember they would advertise this at least once a day during the summer of 94, with the voice going, here's a new American Hockey League team called the Worcester Ice Cats. They would just show the logo, move on to the next ad, and yeah, and they did it every day to the point where, it would stick in your head. So yeah, you get it. There's a team in Worcester called the Ice Cats. Now at that time, I wouldn't mind going to the game, but I had no idea that 5.5 years after this, this team would have quite the impact on me. I mean, I had no idea at that time. But yeah, this is how we learned who the Worcester Ice Cats were. Thanks, Channel 56. A year later, in 1995, I learned about another team in the league, the Providence Bruins. They're obviously the Boston Bruins affiliate. One of the first sightings I've seen of the Providence Bruins logo back then, I think we were on a trip to Cape Cod at one time, and when we left Cape Cod, I believe I remember seeing a bumper sticker of the Providence Bruins. So, of course, the closest AHL team from Cape Cod, from that area, would be the Providence Bruins. So, that was the most likely. So, Cape Cod would be the most likely market for. The Providence Bruins would be the most likely market for Cape Cod. And here's me at age 11. May 1995 on the Boston Duck Tours. Whoops. In case anyone was wondering. Now, on to 1997, my very first trip to Pennsylvania. 1997, I would take a trip to Hershey with middle school and high school students in September of that year. One of them was to visit Hershey, and the other was to visit Amish country. But of course, we're here to talk about Hershey, because they have an AHL team too, of course, the Hershey Bears. Hershey is home to Hershey Park Arena, where the Hershey Bears used to play. The Hershey Chocolate Factory, of course. And Hershey Park. I wish I would have gotten to visit Hershey Park during that time. But I did get to visit Hershey Park summer of '99, of course. And take another tour of the chocolate factory and another tour of the town. We also got the during the tour of the town, we went by some sort of school. I forget what it was called, and something about not weather. I'm sorry, I can't even remember the name of the school we visited or went by. It was such a long time ago. But moving on, 1998, the old Lock Monsters joined the AHL. And just like with the Worcester Ice Cats, TV advertisement was how I became aware of a team like this existed. This was on Channel 56, though. I think it was maybe Channel 50 in Derry, New Hampshire that advertised this. I can't remember, but I remember a number of times seeing the Little Lock Monsters commercial on TV back in 1998, summer, fall, on Channel 50, WNDS, as that channel was at the time. Now it's WWJE, the Justice Network. And that's not it for 1998. Now, let me tell you, I'm not 100% certain if I came across this logo or not. I vaguely remember something about the Phantoms while I was visiting Philadelphia, October of that year. I may have come across like the Philadelphia Phantoms logo somewhere or not. But when I was visiting Philadelphia, while we were on our way to Washington, went to see the Liberty Bell and got a tour of the U.S. Mint Factory. There may have been sighting of the Philadelphia Phantoms logo somewhere. I'm not 100% sure, but I might have seen it somewhere. I mean, they were Calder Cup champions at that time, defending champions that year. So, moving on. 1999, I learned who the Albany River Rats were after I was sitting next to one of my friends over at the library as he was like surfing the web. He's a big hockey fan, by the way. NHL and minor leagues like the AHL and ECHL. He was browsing around and he goes onto the Albany River Rats page, and here I see the Albany River Rats logo. I thought it was pretty cute. I chuckled a bit. But yeah. Now, the 1900s, the 1000s come to an end, and we head on to 2000. But more in particular, January 28th, 2000. Are you ready? Now we get to this particular milestone that paved the way to where I am today and why this project exists. Anyway, January 28, 2000, I went to see my very first AHL game between the Worcester Ice Cats and the Albany River Rats. While I knew I was going to have a fun time, I didn't think that, I would wind up being like such a big fan of the team. And I remember as soon as we stepped into the DCU Center, as the Worcester Centrum, as it was called the Worcester Centrum Center at the time. As soon as we stepped in to the Centrum Center, I remember getting vibes immediately. I remember getting vibes already wanting to go right to our seats. I mean, and as I was watching it, I got to see professional hockey. I got to see all this action, all this excitement. And, seeing them score against the opposing River Rats, that made me really happy. And here I am, becoming an instant fan of the Worcester Ice Cats. Well done. Well done. You got yourself a fan from Waltham. 40 miles away. I'm so out of market. I'm more like in Lowell's Market, right? Whatever. And one aspect of the Worcester Ice Cats in particular was their mascot Scratch, who I thought was like the most coolest thing ever. I mean, no matter what other people might have thought, I loved him. He was definitely a character I would really want to relate to. Definitely a cool character. I mean, definitely a lot like how a lot of people want to relate to Sonic the Hedgehog, I would say. And also, 11 years after my first exposure to Scratch, that would lead to the creation of Cyan, which we'll get to later. So now that I've saw my first Ice Cats game, what happens after that? Let's find out. Yeah. Well, becoming an Ice Cats fan was, that was definitely a milestone, wasn't it? Hold on a sec. Dropping everything. Okay, of course, me being a fan of the Worcester Ice Cats, I wanted to go to the game as much as possible, but since I was in high school back then, I couldn't go too often because I was still just a kid. I was a teenager, and Worcester was 40 miles from where I lived. What can you do? But every opportunity I would get to see a game, I would, of course, buy merchandise, like this program that I had and t-shirt. Here's some pictures that I took of the game. A few of the games that I went to back when during my high school days. And along with that, I also did use the Ice Cats in like high school projects, like one in computer class for a PowerPoint presentation. But in addition, I also got to get to know more of the rest of the league, like what other teams are there and who's affiliated with who and this and that. During the 2000-2001 season, there were 20 teams. At that time, there were 2 expansion teams ready for 01-02. During this time in high school, I got to see, the Ice Cats regular season championship in 2001. I got to see, you came across that slide already, but here it is. We got to see AHL adopt 6 teams from the former IHL, which folded in 2001. And based on the geography, these teams were like pretty remote. Some of these teams were pretty remote. I mean, the farthest team from... I'm back during the 2000-2001 season. The farthest team from where I lived, I'm going to take a guess, is the Louisville Panthers. If not, it's the Kentucky Thoroughblades. But yeah, Kentucky... Well, further southwest, I should say. As well as the team in Cincinnati. Furthest northeast would be the St. John's Maple Leafs in Newfoundland. But after the IHL folded, we got these 6 teams in particular. One in Houston, one in Winnipeg, Manitoba, one in Grand Rapids, Milwaukee, Chicago, or Rosemont in particular. In the furthest west, Utah. Salt Lake City, Utah. I mean, prior to this announcement, I didn't think it was going to expand this far, but wow. That's kind of cool, I gotta say. Also, I graduated high school in 2002. And after I graduated from high school, of course, I would have to leave high school and say goodbye to my friends, and also generate some loneliness. As proud as I was graduating high school, and I tell you, I was a lot more prouder than any normal person would be. I mean, this was a much bigger deal than any other high school graduate would make of it, but that would be for another story. But anyway, despite being proud of graduating high school, I wouldn't see my friends from high school anymore, and I would sort of develop this loneliness that I had, unfortunately. However, despite graduating high school, it didn't mean I had to give up one thing I was really passionate for, which was art. And I never would have thought that, this passion of mine would be so therapeutic to help me combat my loneliness. So that I'm really grateful for. We're going to get to that soon. We're going to get to that now. Okay. So another thing, after high school, I began watching the Boomerang Network more often. It's Cartoon Network's sister channel. Having a little bit of an old school kick during that time. I still do, but the old school kick from then was different than it is now. I mean, I got to see cartoons, many of them Hanna-Barbera, of course. But some cartoons from Hanna-Barbera I'd never even heard of until I saw them on this particular network. Such as Hokey Wolf and Loopy de Loop, who in particular was an influence on one of the characters that I had. Which we're going to get to now. It was this character. His name is Logan Frost, better known as Frosty. He was an Arctic fox, from my imagination. I began drawing him back in 2002. I gave him like this light blue fur, as opposed to white, a natural white fur for an Arctic fox. Just because it looked cool, no pun intended. Furthermore, I kind of like to bend the rules a bit. Never seen a fox with a blue fur like this before. Of course, you don't see them walk around and dress like humans too. But yeah, Frosty had a bit of influence of Loopy Loop and, of course, of Scratch. Also because of the fur color. Yeah, despite him being a cold climate animal, yeah, he's like a he is a cold climate animal, much like penguins and polar bears. But you just don't see Arctic foxes become used too often, unfortunately. So here I am giving the Arctic fox the recognition it deserves. But in addition to being a personal character I love, I pretty much used him as an imaginary friend during my period of loneliness after high school. This period of loneliness, would last until I would begin college at Middlesex Community College in fall of 2003. Yeah, I began college in fall 2003. And I spent 3.5 years there before getting my degree in liberal arts, associates, I should say, in May 2007. Well, I finished my last class in late 2006, but I should say that I would get my certificate in 2007, when they had the ceremony and whatnot. Honestly, I'm going to need some water. Yeah, all this talking. Okay. So yeah, when I started Middlesex, my loneliness period finally came to an end. I got to meet new people. I got to make new friends here and there. And things went well during my first semester. Even made the dean's list. Bravo to me. However, new troubles began when my second semester was in progress. This would be the spring 2004 semester. Problems at home started to brew again, with my mother being, unnecessarily pushy and angry about my motivation in college. I mean, I was being as motivated as I could. It might have been like the tobacco withdrawal she had at the time, but other than that, I never would have expected her to have this kind of temper over such small drawbacks. So this led me to having a lack of concentration and self-esteem during my second semester in college, and even made me even more mentally unstable. I would get riled very easily at that time, and all I could do at that point was just, get through the semester and move on. Take the time to relax when the semester was over. But, and of course, this all led to me failing one of my courses. But it was no surprise that, as a way to get through this in the best way I could, I would spend quote unquote family time with the characters that I drew. I put family time in quotes, I should say. I would still use them as imaginary friends, for therapeutic reasons. But not to worry, it wasn't. They weren't imaginary friends to a point where people would think I'm crazy and whatnot. I managed them appropriately. So, I knew what I was doing. I mean, this was very helpful for me. So yeah. I would still use my characters as imaginary friends. It wouldn't be as often as during my loneliness period, but at least it was helpful. So yeah, I was going through a summer revival during the summer of 2004. And during the fall of 2004, when to take my classes, including a class I needed to start all over again. And I passed that time. Now, the fall 2004 semester was going nicely for me, and I made the dean's list again. Bravo! But, I was all happy up until, when rumors came around that the Worcester Ice Cats were going to move out of Worcester after the 2004-2005 season. I was totally shocked. Yeah, on November 9th, 2004, it was announced that the Worcester Ice Cats, after the 04-05 season, would officially move out of Worcester to Peoria, Illinois, becoming the new Peoria Rivermen. Losing a team in general was painful enough, but if said team made a special impact on you in the past, having that team taken away from you would be a very big void to fill in. I mean, I know a lot of Ice Cat fans were upset by that. And, after this news was announced, I know fans immediately got to work in a campaign to bring a new AHL team to the DCU Center. They were successful in bringing the Worcester Sharks to the DCU Center in 06, but we're going to get to that later. I remember attending the last Ice Cats home game on April 17, 2005. I was in a lot of sadness. They had like a farewell video broadcast on their Jumbotron during that game, and we all got hurt. We all got painful seeing our team go. So, of course, after that game was over, summer day in Worcester, summer day for us Ice Cats fans, myself included, and with no knowledge or major expectation as to what to fill in this large void with, how it will be filled or when it will be filled, I was scared of what I could do, what I could support with my life from that point on. So efforts to fill in that void began to take effect shortly thereafter. So, of course, no Ice Cats meant no Scratch, or Scratch coming to life at least. The demise of the Ice Cats, unsurprisingly, meant Scratch would no longer be used. The city of Worcester claimed ownership of the Ice Cats name, the branding concept, and everything else, including Scratch, which was part of the Ice Cats exhibit at the Worcester Historical Museum. As you can see in this picture, this really bad taxidermy of Scratch. Scratch looks like he's lost a lot of weight. I mean, that is so depressing, seeing him motionless like that. It's horrible. I mean, again, I'm aware that this is still a costume, but seeing a motionless Scratch on display like that is just highly depressing. I mean, even I cried, and I was like 21. Full-grown male adult. It was like a memorial for your beloved pet put together by some cheap, lazy taxidermist. So, that felt even more depressing. And with Scratch's life being as defunct as his own team, I asked myself, what kind of character would I ever find as cool or even cooler than Scratch? What kind of character would I want to relate to as much as I wanted to with Scratch? That would be really hard to find. So if I wasn't going to find a character like Scratch or better that I could relate to, I would make one myself. So if there's anything about Scratch that was missing to me, one thing that would literally perfect this character for me, not to be topped, even if you try to top it, I would say is the lack of association with electronic dance music. And as a fan of EDM, seeing Scratch become a trance DJ or producer, him going to EDM events, him playing around with the likes of Above and Beyond, Gabriel and Dresden, Ferry Corsa, etc., seeing that would really launch my happiness through the roof. But of course, the odds of that happening at that time were practically slimmer than winning a Powerball. So a new character was formed from my imagination. This is a Panther character named EP. which stood for Electronica Panther. Instead of copying Scratch's image, of course, because that would be lazy and whatnot. Instead of copying Scratch's image, however, or even make this character have too close of a resemblance to Scratch, you can see he's more toonier, different facial expressions. He's got this hairdo and this hat and a few other things with him. I wanted to stand out from Scratch. I wanted to stand out more. I made EP to become less associated with Scratch. I could take Scratch's exact image and use that, but that would border plagiarism. Not to mention, I was hoping I would be able to put the loss of the Ice Cats away for good. And I made EP to become less associated with Scratch and more of a different character in hopes that I would move on to something more that I can relate to as much as I did with Scratch in terms of Scratch's character. Because I didn't want to become too associated with Scratches. That would let my depression or the loss of the Ice Cats stick with me. Still in 2005. Now, the Ice Cats' departure was not overall a total loss for the city of Worcester, of course. This was the year the Canada League's Worcester Tornadoes formed. They are a baseball team who used to play at Hanover Insurance Park at Fitton Field in 2005 to 2012. Well, anyway, in May of 2005, weeks before the Tornadoes' inaugural season started, I drew concept art for the Tornadoes mascot, Cyclone the Vulture, as you can see in the lower left-hand corner, as a family mascot. This is a personal character of mine, and I didn't plan on pitching the idea to the Tornadoes organization anyway, since I didn't think the Tornadoes organization would accept it. But despite the character concept relating more closely to the team's nickname than the mascot they had, who was Twister the dog, as you can see on the lower right hand corner, Twister the dog. At first, Twister wasn't really my cup of tea, aside from not associating with the team's nickname. Either than his name, he just looked kind of dopey. I can imagine if he was voiced in a cartoon, he would sound more like a dim-witted Lorenzo Music. However, it is understandable, why they came up with this big fat orange dog named Twister for a mascot, as opposed to something more associated with tornadoes. I mean, he doesn't have an intimidating appearance, because it's baseball. It's not like it's a tough or violent sport like hockey. And of course, kids are the primary target audience for a character like Twister. Not to mention, people love dogs in general. They're considered man's best friend after all. So even though a dog doesn't follow the concept of a tornado that deeply, the character overall still does work. As long as it's something people can relate to. My Cyclone character, however, appeared more rough and menacing, even without angry or intimidating facial expressions. He's still a kind of character a lot of people might not want to relate to. I wouldn't think. But then again, he was still a personal character of mine. Just a fan-made mascot, something for me, not for them. Well, sort of for them, but not officially for them, I would say. I mean, Twister would be officially for them. And later in 2005, this is where I got to learn about furry fandom. This is... hold on a sec. Yeah, in late 2005, heading into early 2006 is when I began learning what furry fandom is, and out of coincidence, I learned I was a furry myself. Yeah, all this time I was being a fanboy of cartoon animals, whether I see on TV, and animals that I draw myself. Being a fan of Scratch, being a fan of mascots in general, being a fan of mascots in general, it was kind of funny that I would discover that there are more people out there like that, more people out there like me, having a fascination with anthropomorphic animals. In addition to the fascination in general, they too come up with their own characters. And they also dress up like characters that they have imagined themselves. It's kind of funny to think that. In addition, they also go to conventions like Anthrocon in Pittsburgh. There's one here in Boston called Anthrop New England, which is going to take place a month from now. Anthrop New England didn't exist just yet back then, but back when I first learned what furry fandom is and discovered that I was part of it. Well, that was one thing I had in common with these guys, but I would learn I would have a lot more in common with these people later on as I got to learn the furry community better. Now, back to the AHL. At the start of the 05-06 AHL season, I made plans to visit every AHL arena in New England. At that time, I've only been to the DCU Center in Worcester, the Song Center in Lowell, and the Verizon Wireless Arena, which is now SNHU Arena in Manchester, New Hampshire. That was to see the 2005 AHL All-Star Game there. And with no team in Worcester, I had to go elsewhere to get my AHL fix. And each month during the 05-06 season, I would visit a different arena in the area and do reviews on these arenas. The reviews were mainly just for fun, but I also thought I would help give other fans who read these reviews an idea of what to expect when seeing games at these places. And as the season progressed, and the more arenas I visited, the more love I grew for the AHL venture that I was on. I grew to be more of a league fan. Going to different arenas in different cities, meeting various fans from these arenas and other aspects of this little adventure. Although it didn't fill my void completely, it did shrink a good portion of it. And, I was so glad to see progress being made because of this. And meanwhile, on New Year's Day, 2006, news broke out that the Cleveland Barons were going to move to Worcester. An official announcement will be made 8 days later on January 9th. The team would be renamed to Worcester Sharks, named after their affiliate, the San Jose Sharks, of course. While I didn't expect this to steal my vote completely, I was really happy to see Worcester get an AHL team again. I mean, I think I think Worcester is a great AHL market in general. I mean, I was sure Worcester fans would be heavily excited to see the return of the AHL. But as happy as I was with that, as happy as I was seeing the AHL return to Worcester, unfortunately, it still didn't fill in my void completely. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was really glad to see Worcester get a hockey team again, but, keep in mind, it wasn't the Worcester Sharks that got me into the AHL. It was the Ice Cats, of course. I mean, so, but regardless, it was great seeing the AHL return to Hartford. I wish I could do the same for Lowell, but, Now, as I was saying, the void was still yet to be fully closed. But during the success of the AHL adventure I had around New England, I decided to take it further for the 06-07 season. Going to arenas in New York State and Pennsylvania. Going to Albany, New York, seeing the River Rats there, going to Binghamton, going to Hershey, Rochester. Yeah. Because, I became more of a league fan than I did with a single team fan. Because, like I said, the hockey is professional. And I understand it's minor league, but still, it's underrated. You definitely gotta give it support. You gotta give this league praise for being a professional league. And of course I was really happy to of course I was really happy that a lot of teams are really close by to where I live. New York and Pennsylvania, they're both relatively close to where I live, so I could take it further here to this point. So yeah, I became a league fan. I took my AHL adventure further throughout the 06-07 season, and beyond that, the following summer, the summer of 2007, it would be a very special summer for me. Now, the joy I have for my Eric Fox character Frosty was still brewing, even after having it for almost 5 years at this time. I was still not tired of this character. He became my personal favorite character of the 2000s. When I first created him in 2002, I didn't expect I would have him this long. I thought, I didn't even think I would be still drawing him and make new content of him, even after 2 years of having him. He's still my favorite character. Love him. In fact, I loved him for so long. To enhance my joy more, I thought up a double for Frosty. Of course, he would be like an evil doppelganger, sort of like Wario to Mario, Shadow to Sonic. You get the idea. This evil double will be imagined up in April 2007. And while Frosty, of course, represented ice, this particular evil double would represent fire. Of course, plans for his character changed after a special announcement was made by one of the teams in the AHL 2 months later. In spring 2007, it was announced that the Calgary Flames AHL affiliate, the Omaha Axarben Knights, after spending only 2 seasons in Omaha, would move to Moline, Illinois, and there become the Quad City Flames. Now, on June 25th, 2007, the QC Flames announced a contest for fans to design a mascot for the team. And shortly after finding out about this contest, I thought about using Frosty's evil double and use him as the mascot's design. Of course, not in evil form, of course. That wouldn't work out. But it'd be something different. And in Quasi Flames apparel, of course. So work on this character began immediately after choosing to use this character to submit for the team. Now, as far as the project, it was designing a Quasi Flames mascot. It was also pretty risky. The contest was open while I was taking a summer semester in college. Squeezing time to work on this character and spending less time than recommended studying in college developed a good amount of stress and concern for me. With such a tight schedule, was I going to both pass my course and at the very least get any positive feedback on the mascot I was designing? Hold on a sec. Yes, more water, thank you. I didn't even live in the Quad Cities. I lived all the way in Massachusetts. In terms of geography, I wasn't even part of the Quad Cities market. So was it wrong that I was wasting my time creating a character for something not even local to me, when I should have been spending more time studying my summer math course? Was it really worth cutting down studying my summer course for designing a character that I would not expect would get chosen? This all leads to the biggest question of all. If I didn't expect it'll be chosen, if it's not part of my geographical market, and if I had a summer course to study, then why am I even bothering with doing all this? Yeah, it was risky because I was pushing math aside, likely not being able to pass, and wasting my time on a mascot that likely wouldn't get picked. It would have been quite a waste of valuable time. It'd be completely my own fault if at least I fail my summer course, or I don't win the mascot design contest at all. Imagining up Frosty's fiery double back in April pretty much gave me a head start in designing the QC Flames mascot before it was even announced. Instead of him being a villain as originally planned, I gave him a nicer, happier, less scary look to him, and of course changed his attire to hockey attire. Despite this, first variations of this character, as you can see on the screen, weren't as satisfying as I had hoped for. The first problem was the placement of some colors of his fur. I usually gave him a yellow belly before. I don't know if you can see it anywhere. I tried to erase all the yellow from his belly and turn it back into white, but completely convert. And another was the Flames jersey designs. And although they weren't official yet, when I was drawing this character, there were photos of blurry images of the Flames jersey design, likely presented at a press conference that I found online. I thought they already had made it official then, but they weren't. So, to my best analyzation of these jerseys, I copied the designs onto the mascot's jersey design. And later on, two other designs of Firestorm was. Hold on a sec. Okay. So yeah, I made other designs. I made revisions, and while it was an improvement from the original variations, there was still plenty to improve on. I also did pages of close-up details of the mascot, including fire-shaped fur in his ears. I a yellow spiky mohawk curving forward. Eyelids, in a way I thought would make him look less crazy, more mellow. That's how I viewed it. Flame markings on his tail. Gloves similar to the kind Scratch wore on the Worcester Ice Cats 10th anniversary, except in the Flames color scheme as opposed to the Ice Cats color scheme. Skates with hot rod flames because I thought that would look really cool. As well as a few other details. And as for the mascot's name, I settled on calling him Firestorm. And as you can see, all these variations of Firestorm. I also want to mention, I went strictly with the Flames color scheme for this character. Strictly. No other colors whatsoever. No blue, green. Just red, yellow, black, white. I guess I could have added more colors back then as accent colors, but, I didn't think of it. I just wanted to stay strictly the color scheme. But with the July 20th deadline getting closer, and after several unsatisfying elements to my design, I played the glass half empty card on this project. There was a couple of changes I really wanted to make, and had I had the time to make these changes, I would have felt at least confident enough to get just one positive response to something about this mascot design, but not for the overall design. Unfortunately, the deadline was already here, and I didn't have time to make the revisions I wanted to make anyway, so in order to even have a chance at having Firestorm chosen as the mascot, I had to submit the designs to them. I had to submit the designs to them at that point. They just had to do, regardless of how unsatisfied with them. And as for my summer semester, it ended with me passing the course just barely. So, yeah, I really dodged a bullet. Had I studied more, of course, I would have done better. But, the important thing is I passed. So, that's one thing I wouldn't be disappointed in. I would have... Of course, what I was doing was pretty irresponsible, I would say. But, I pretty much lucked out. Yeah, because but now I had another thing to worry about was would Firestorm win the contest? And this was a question that I had on my mind. Would Firestorm win? This is a question that I had on my mind throughout the remainder of summer. It was on loop in my head throughout the remainder of summer. Because I was hungry for an answer up until I would learn the answer. Because, that's all I wanted to know. Because I couldn't help to wonder how well my mascot design would do. Because even if it flopped, even if it didn't become the mascot, I would have still, I still would have wanted to know, how it did. So, a few minutes after the July 20th deadline, I received an email from the Flames organization. The first bit of info on how Firestorm was doing came from this particular email. Pessimistic, originally thinking Firestorm got rejected, until I read the email, I was told that Firestorm was one of 3 characters chosen by the Flames staff to put on their website so fans could vote for which design they liked best, and that the most popular design would become the official Quad City Flames mascot. I was so surprised. At the same time, I was also deeply excited and honored to have Firestorm as a candidate for the mascot of the QC Flames. And I felt even less guilty about working on Firestorm than I did now that he was in the final 3. Wow. But I was still worried he wouldn't get picked, and that, I still had wasted a lot of time working on this project when I could have, of course, done more studying in my math summer course. But, in being in the finals, that's quite the thing, I guess. I would hope he would get picked, just so, I wouldn't feel like I have wasted my time putting that character together. No, I didn't even want him to be runner-up. Because, if he was still runner-up, I'd still feel it would be wasteful, but still. Now, as for the two other designs Firestorm was up against in the online poll, I wish there was, I had pictures of that to present here, but I don't. But I do remember the two contenders Firestorm was up against. One of them was a fireball named Hotshot, and the other was a dragon named Blaze. I'm going to share my 2 cents on those two opposing candidates, starting with Hotshot. The artist for Hotshot went into great detail with the design, of course. The name was pretty clever, I gotta admit, as well as his jersey number 451. Smart choice as well. However, he was pretty dopey looking, in terms of his facial expressions. I don't think it's something fans would want to relate to too often. But you gotta give him credit for putting a lot of heart into drawing him, of course. As for Blaze, the character didn't look very enthusiastic. He was angled funny. He wasn't colored in. Didn't look amused. And one of his feet was turned. People who I knew who have seen the poll for themselves and have shared their opinions on these designs said they like my design the best. And they're not saying it to be nice, but they really thought that mine really was the best. And they were pretty confident that was going to be the winner. So, whoa. That meant a lot. Also discovered people who never even heard of me before. Here I am lurking around the interwebs looking for content on what other fans thought of Firestorm and compared to the other characters. There were people who didn't even know who I was who voted for Firestorm. I mean, whoa. They like my character. I didn't think I was going to get chosen. That really does mean a lot. But looking around QC Flames as boards, of course there were people who voted for the other two because they thought Firestorm didn't associate as much with the concept of Flames as much as the other two. But there were a lot of people still voted for my character, which really meant a lot. I was really amazed. But then again, despite all the feedback I got on Firestorm, I still ask myself, did I get enough support for him to win? Was he gonna be the Quad City Flames mascot? So, throughout the rest of the summer, all I could ever think about was my mascot design and wondered if it would get chosen. I was very hungry for an answer. Which design got selected? Was it Firestorm or was it one of the other two? Like I said, I was pretty confident that he wouldn't get chosen, but I was pretty confident that he wouldn't get chosen. And for as long as this question was on loop in my head, waiting for an answer, just to calm myself down, just to, ease my worries, I would drive to far away places like Cape Cod and Kittery, Maine, and Springfield, just to ease my nerves. I mean, I remember there were also nights I would be up all night, nights I wouldn't get any sleep at all because I would think about, Firestorm, if whether he would get chosen or not. Yeah, and during his time, the only thing I wanted more than anything was to learn the results of the contest and see who would get chosen. As days kept going by, making me wanting to know the results even more, I knew that I would find out as I knew that as the following AHL season was getting closer, the wait for the big answer would finally be over. On September 5th, 2007, the QC Flames announced special promotions leading up to their home opener, including the revealing of their official mascot. That was scheduled for the 24th of that month. In other words, the time when I could finally get all this off my back and move on whether Firestorm won or not was scheduled for the 24th. I mean, I really could not wait. In days before the 24th, I received an email from the Flames regarding the design contest. This gave me a better idea that this email would tell me the results on the contest and which character got selected. I click the link, I take a deep breath, and I read, I won the contest! I literally ran all around the house in excitement. The fact that something of mine would become accepted as for something like a professional sports team like one in the AHL was unbelievable. Literally. It was unbelievable. Literally. I could not believe it. I needed evidence. Yeah, despite the confirmation from the Flames that I won, there was still a pessimistic side saying, what if this is incorrect or inaccurate? I didn't think I'd get enough support to have him selected back when I was designing him. If only I was presented with solid evidence, like pictures of the costume, to show that I won. But on September 24th of that night, I lurk around sites looking for information on who the QC Flames mascot would be, including the QC Flames official site, their MySpace page, and other MySpace pages, and around message boards. On a certain forum site, one user said that Firestorm got chosen, and reading that blew my pessimism away. I could finally officially celebrate my victory, winning the contest. So yeah, I finally got to see pictures of Firestorm here, and I mean, I had my breath taken away. I was so close to getting a heart attack seeing one of my characters go from illustration to real life like this. Oh my god. So that only left one question left to ask about all this. If you were so pessimistic about not having Firestorm get chosen, why do you still participate in the first place? Well, reason number one. Had I not participated in the contest at all, Firestorm would have never had the possibility of being chosen anyway. But reason number two is a bigger reason. And it involves passion. Passion for the AHL and for drawing anthro characters. And once a mascot design contest was announced, I was passionate enough to go with the opportunity. I just had the urge to design something. I just had to submit it because it was passion telling me to do so. Now, I usually don't plan to make these characters appealing to anyone else. I usually do it first and foremost for myself. I mean, nor would I expect others to find these characters of mine appealing. I mean, it might be all the practice I had drawing them, fixing mistakes, revising them to a point where I would finally be satisfied with the model of these characters. But, others who have seen the work that I draw have become really impressed with what I draw. I mean, I'm amazed how many people enjoy the art that I draw. I never would have thought I would get a lot of praise from others for the art that I draw, let alone have something of mine become accepted for a professional hockey team or a professional organization like the Quad City Flames. At the same time, however, it really meant a lot to me getting such feedback from others. My passion and motivation really had paid off. The praise I've received made me even more passionate and motivated with what I draw. So therefore, I just kept on going. I kept on drawing. As long as my passion for drawing what I love to draw kept running, I wouldn't stop. I don't expect to stop anytime soon. I have so much fuel to keep me going, all this willingness to continue. I always look forward to where these skills can take me. While looking back on my past accomplishments involving my art, I continue to move forward, heading towards more accomplishments along the way. I just want to keep on drawing. I just want to keep on reaching goals that I want to reach. I just want to keep making people happy with the art that I draw. And I'm going to keep going for it as long as my passion tells me to. So, now that I won that contest and had Firestorm as the mascot. Yeah, never got this slide. I think Gordie Howe said it best. You gotta love what you're doing, and as long as you keep doing it, you'll become better. So, now that Firestorm was chosen, now I won a contest. What was next? Well, first of all, of course, I got to visit Moline, Illinois to see my creation. Here I am on January 9, 2008, visiting the iWireless Center, which is now called the Tax Slayer Center in Moline, Illinois. Here I am getting a picture with my creation, Firestorm. And to get me recognized as the creator of Firestorm, they gave me a Zamboni ride. Announced my name and said I was the creator over the PA system, as well as getting a few other bonuses like a free puck and a free t-shirt. Later in 2008, I did more research on Furry Fan, but not too much. And this led me to have my eye on wanting to attend Anthrocon. At that time, it was the largest furry convention in the world. In 2008, however, I couldn't visit Anthrocon until 2011. 2008 and 2009, I had a lack of money. 2010, my college schedule was going to keep me busy during that year, so I couldn't attend 2010 as well, despite the fact that I was finally able to have the funding to go. But it won't be until 2011 that I'll attend, but we're going to get to that later. So yeah, attending AC became a bucket list task of mine in 2008. At the end of 2008, I would leave Framingham State and start attending American International College, the Cambridge campus, I should say, of American International College, beginning in 2009. I would work on earning a certificate in digital media arts. I would take courses in web design, graphic design, 3D animation, and 3D game design. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that. Now, this is where I would learn how to use programs from Adobe and Autodesk. Dang it. Sorry about that. Yeah, this is where I would learn about using Adobe and Autodesk programs. Graphic design and web design, I would use Illustrator, Photoshop, Dreamweaver, InDesign, and Flash Professional. In 3D animation and game design, I would work strictly with 3D Studio Max. Hold on a sec. Yeah, guys, sorry about that. Had a little problem with one of my monitors. Okay, now continuing on. Here are a few examples I did. As part of assignments that I got at American International College. One of them is a wallpaper with a binary and perspective grid floor. Another typography exhibition advertisement. Another is a poster for a game that I thought up called Aerocycle Racing Association. I used 3D Studio Max to create this chemistry set. This was one of the first still pictures I did. And here's me back in 2009 as part of a little Photoshop experiment, me in front of a giant circuit board. And this is an art submission that I did for the Topsfield Fair. As you can see, it's both a swimming pool and a pool table mixed together. It got a participant award, at least. It made it into the Topsfield Fair, so that could be grateful for. And of course, I still went with my furry artwork. Still went to draw furry artwork, both with a pencil and using the software that I had. Even after I would graduate the American International College, which became American Career Institute in late 2009, and then in September of 2010, I would earn my certificate in digital media arts. But after getting the skills to use these to Illustrator, Photoshop, and 3D Studio Max and whatnot, yeah, after come on. yeah, after getting getting my certificate in that, I would use these programs, especially a lot with Illustrator to do all my furry art. And as you can see, here's one of my examples, Mittens McGraw. Another one of my characters. This I drew in late 2010, early 2011. And as 2011 rolled around, I can now start introducing myself into the furry community and finally attend Anthrocon, among other things. Yeah. So now that I was free from college, I would finally have the opportunity to attend Anthrocon. Plans for it began at the start of 2011. A year I was very nervous about when it began. I mean, I was worried about, what the state of my life would be at that point, but, this would wind up turning to be one of the best years of my life. I mean, early in 2011, I began plans to attend Anthrocon. And I was gradually becoming more and more social with other people in furry fandom as I was making plans to attend. And going further than just furry-related interests, I've seen furs who are also gamers, who are also musicians, who are fans of anime, TV and radio station geeks, and even fans of electronic dance music. And with how non-mainstream EDM was still at that time, I would have thought that on like the AC message boards, for example, I'd come across only one or two other users who were into EDM, but the number of fans exceeded my expectations. There appeared to be several other things that I would have in common with other members of the fandom. So that feeling of being alienated somehow began to fade away, and I was beginning to feel like a much different person, one that felt like belonging somewhere. And here are a few examples of what furs are into. As I already mentioned, there's furs who are, several of them into Doctor Who. I'd say there's one guy who received a gift art recently who's also a Whovian. There's a lot there gamers, of course. There's a lot there. There's a lot there fans of anime. There's people who like Star Trek. One of my personal friends in the furry fandom is a Trekkie. And there's several who play Dungeons and Dragons. If you go to a FurCon and you go into the game room, you'll see plenty of that. And a lot are into EDM as well, as I already said. But what's even more surprising about furry fandom is that there's a good number of people in this fandom who are well educated, who have good careers. I mean, more than just nice people in general. I mean, for example, Dr. Samuel Conway, better known as Uncle Kage in furry fandom, he has a PhD in chemistry. And he is in furry fandom as well. He's the chairman of Anthrocon, by the way. And you would be surprised to think that, something that would be labeled as, kid stuff, something meant just for kids only, would have several older people, a lot of people with a good education, with all these good careers in this fandom. Well, that's kind of a surprise. Now, one thing people in this fandom have are furry characters known as fursonas. Fursonas are anthro characters created out of their creators' own imaginations and used to represent the creators themselves. the creators can decide entirely on how these characters are made, and they decide the characters' names, species, the color schemes, the attire, personality, anything. And here's an example of one guy's persona, JD Puppy, who sometimes you'll see him in this vest and shorts, and he also has a fursuit of this character too. And another one of his characters down here, Buddy, the husky, who I remember the first time I saw Buddy at AC, the morning, Thursday morning of the convention. He was like walking into the Westin Hotel lobby. He's got this cute voice. He was like, "Hi, I'm Buddy. I want to be your buddy." He's so adorable. I love him. But yeah, one of the things that many people in this fandom have are personas. And this is what influenced me to come up with a persona for my own. So plans for persona began, shortly after the time I started making plans for Anthrocon in 2011. So one of the ideas I had was a specific wolf character. I already did the wolf's head, the wolf's face before, which I went to print on a particular t-shirt. I used it as a t-shirt graphic because I thought, it looked cool. But anyway, he was one of the characters of that I was planning on using as a potential persona that I could use as a persona. But I also had the idea of other possible animals as the persona. I mean, the wolf persona, was only like a placeholder until I would come up with a character I would become even more satisfied with. I put together a few bylaws for myself on what I can create with this persona, how it's created, and how to use it, including not letting my alter ego take over my mentality and make me think I'm no longer this human being named Richard. And I know it has to be something I know I can keep long term. And because I don't want to come up with like a new persona so constantly, and this is where I knew I would definitely put a lot of time into thinking about what should I use for a persona. And at one point I had like 8 or 9 different kinds of animals as candidates, including a mountain lion, a raccoon, a fox, a domestic cat, and a few others. And for the raccoon character, I did come up with a name for him named Cyber Rustler. He was supposed to have the hairstyle similar to the wolf character's hairstyle, as you can see here. But no drawings of a Cyber Rustler were made, though. Although I did have the image in my head. I mean, he was supposed to be like an intergalactic raccoon character with this hairstyle, and I was thinking of also giving him these shades, but I just didn't draw that particular character. When a new candidate species came to my head, and I got similar to Scratch, yeah, you know where this is going. This species immediately became a new favorite in the running. Since Scratch was already a character I thought was really cool, a character I wanted to relate to, I suspected this particular species was gonna get chosen, and lo and behold, There were a few additional rules and compromises I made to this, however. In terms of image, of course, he cannot resemble Scratch too much, especially if I were to plan on making money off of this character. I don't want to get sued by the city of Worcester. So I also left out the hockey jersey out of this character's default apparel scheme, because even though this was inspired by Scratch, this character still was not Scratch. I'm not making Scratch, I'm making my own Ice Cat character. So yeah, I made him more unique. Instead of the jersey, I gave him the wool hat, scarf, snow boots, gloves, because he lives in a cold climate. He's a cold climate creature, an Ice Cat. The gloves, however, were modeled after the gloves Scratch wore on the 10th anniversary logo, of course. This was still acceptable, as this still didn't give too much of a resemblance to Scratch. This character had light blue and white fur with a blue nose, pointed ears without the tufts at the time, a white furred muzzle, blue eyelids, and at the time dark blue circles around eyes, which I would get rid of pretty quickly after that, because I didn't think they were necessary. And after the standout from Scratch phase of this project, I would finally have a model of my persona I was beginning to feel happy with. I mean, he was still a work in progress, but I knew I was going to get somewhere with this character. And here is one of the earliest models of this particular character, Cyan Glacier Tooth. Still a work in progress. As you can see, I made a poster of him as like a concert tour artist, like a musician. This for a concert tour around North America, the North American Stargazer Tour 2011. Yeah, at this time he was Cyan the Polar Cat. I only meant to have it as a temporary name until I could think of like a better name for him, but I didn't think of a better name, so the name stuck, of course. But the model would change over time. So in addition to his model and his name, he also had characteristics similar to mine, including him being a retroist, him being an EDM fanatic, him being a guy who wants to make others happy. Although as Anthrocon was getting closer, and anticipating AC was bigger. As Anthrocon was getting closer, I was getting more and more excited for the con as time went by. But with excitement for Anthrocon building, there was also still a pessimistic side of me growing as well. Even with all the things I had in common with other furs of the furry community, what if I still felt alienated while I was at AC? I mean, what if I didn't become satisfied with the convention? I mean, that could happen, but the only way to find out was to attend. Although, to have a better idea of what AC was like, I spent a day in Anime Boston back in April of 2011, just to get a vibe of what Anthrocon would be like. I mean, Anime Boston is still a big convention. Biggest anime convention in the Northeast. And as you can see, there's photos from Anime Boston 2011. There's a poster promoting the convention. There's a picture of the Heinz Convention Center, outside the Heinz Convention Center, I should say, where the convention takes place. Yeah, so I went to Anime Boston for a day just to get an idea of what Anthrocon would be like, despite it not being furry, or as furry, I should say. And I wore my Wolfhead t-shirt there. The wolf I had as a possible persona. And I got a few compliments on it, which I was pretty pleased to hear. Some were from people who were furries that attended the convention. Others who had never seen Animorphs, and they seemed really nice. I mean, and meeting those people made me feel even more confident of going to Anthrocon for later that June. And when June arrives, and with Anthrocon coming just around the corner, I was ready to share my persona in the works to others there, as well as other works of mine like Firestorm to other convention attendees there. I left Boston on the Wednesday before the convention and made it to Pittsburgh early at like 5 in the morning there. And these pictures that I have here, one is like the convention center bus stop with the Anthrocon sign there, and the other with an Anthrocon themed donut menu outside one of the restaurants there. But as I was arriving in Pittsburgh, it was 5 a.m. Everything was quiet. DLCC was not so lively at that point, but soon there would be a lot more people there, of course, celebrating Anthrocon and whatnot. I mean, yeah, it may not have looked like it was ready for AC, but I knew that building was about to show its AC liveliness. I went to breakfast in one of the Weston's cafes, and as I was eating, I see two fursuiters walking by. Not even an hour into being in Pittsburgh, and I already get a smile on my face that I cannot erase. I knew this was going to be a happy weekend for me for sure. And while I was at the convention, I went to a few art jams. I went to a few panels. I got to meet Kage, as you can see. I commissioned someone to draw Cyan. His name was Albert C. Pena. And another person I commissioned there was Lycus, who did the badge that you can see in the photo of me here on the David Lawrence Convention Center rooftop. And I was so happy to be there. So happy to meet all these other people with the same interest I had. So this was definitely a changing moment in my life. This was definitely, I was definitely really satisfied to attend. So, sorry about that. So, when Anthrocon ends, when Anthrocon ends, I had a few tears in my eyes. Not that it was ending, but because, I really feel, it really made me feel like I belong in this community. I mean, my intention in using this hobby wasn't to try to fit in, but to make myself happy. And before going to this convention, I felt unique in being the kind of anthro enthusiast I am. Although I never had guilt in this hobby, I still viewed myself as a one-of-a-kind type of person with a specific interest. But going to Anthrocon would officially and completely change my personal view of myself. Seeing thousands of other people with the same thing we all have in common, it just made me feel deeply happy to not only be furry, but as a human being as well. So a month later, in July 2011, I finally registered an account on Fur Affinity, which is the largest furry art site on the web. And I registered under the username CyanTPC, which stands for Cyan the Polar Cat, of course. He didn't have the official last name at that time. And there I got to meet other furs in the fandom, both globally and locally. And from there, I would go to different fur meets in the area, like bowling and mini golf and luncheons, picnics, arcade meets, etc. I made plenty of friends in the local furry scene. So worries about my personal life in the future that I had at the beginning of the year were deflating dramatically at that point. I mean, I really call furry fandom my home at that point. And my feeling of being home just continued to grow. I even became more motivated ever to keep on drawing, creating more content as Cyan, sharing it on FA, further strengthening my devotion for this fandom, with a lucky opportunity to have enough money to go to Connecticut's Fur Fright for a single day. I had the heart to go and meet more people in the furry community there as well, feeding my passion for this fandom. And one thing I should mention, at this time, Fur Fright was the closest furry convention to where I lived. It was in Cromwell, Connecticut. It's not there anymore, but it's been replaced by a new furry convention called Furpocalypse. So, yeah. Fur Fight was replaced by Furpocalypse at that point. But anyway, meanwhile, my Cyan model evolved. And this model was more satisfying for me than it was previously. I finally have a ref sheet and see him at different angles here. I got rid of the dark circles around the eyes. I made him look more toonier. And I changed his outfit's color to more of a blue and white as opposed to all the teal he had, because I thought that worked better. In addition, I also created a second persona, alternate persona, named All-Star, the brown bear, who's a sports logo and jersey fanatic like I am. And because of one of my own rules being Cyan not becoming too associated with Scratch or any of the Ice Cats branding, meaning I cannot have Cyan's default image have sports attire, I gave that to the alternate persona, All-Star. So All-Star became more associated with sports logos than Cyan was. And my journey through my association with the fandom kept on going on from there. 2011 started with speculation leaning towards negative results, but ended as one of the best years I've lived through, having plenty of optimism for the following year and beyond. So, 2012 and beyond. 2012 and beyond. More art and characters of mine began being drawn and thought out. Early in 2012, a new character was developed, a Fox character named Emil McCraft. I paired Emil up with another character of mine, Flashover, who I already had for almost 3 years at that time, when I first came up with Emil. I paired them up, and they were a music act known as Red 617, with Emil doing the vocals and Flashover working the software the music came from. Emil was named after a user on these message boards that used to go on. These were AHL message boards, by the way. Now, this Emil on these message boards was a real nut job, but not in a way where he would get himself banned from forums usually. Yeah, and although admins closed down some threads and scolded him for whenever he would try to stir up trouble sometimes, and this Emil on these message boards would still be on there, stirring up craziness and whatnot. I just wish he didn't have to leave early in 2012 when I first thought this character up, because I kind of wanted to see new, fresh antics from this Emil from these message boards, just so I could have more influence on my little Emil. So this is what this Emil the Fox was based on the Emil from these message boards when I first created him. And Flashover, who was created 3 years prior, was after the success of Firestorm, I came up with another Fire Fox character. But I had different models of Flashover at that time. Before I had this one for 2012. Another artwork I did in 2012, submission for the Fur Fright comic book. Fur Fright is a Halloween themed convention I forgot to mention. As I said, it took place in Cromwell, Connecticut, before being replaced by Furpocalypse. It was the year I brought back EP. As you've seen from an earlier slide. It was a drawing with EP. The first drawing I did of EP in 2012. And then later that year, I incorporated him in this specific comic I did with a raccoon character of mine that I called JC, and a shark character named Jonathan. Or in this case, Dr. Jonathan Crunch, Mad Dentist. Anyway, it wound up being in the Fur Fright comic book that year. Near the end of the comic book, I say. And I was really happy to see it in there. So I thought that was pretty cool. And during the progress of working on the Fur Fright comic book, I was making plans for another new model of Cyan, along with a new last name for him. He was no longer going to have the Polar Cat in his title, but instead have an actual last name to him. And after Fur Fright ended, work on the next Cyan model began. I made him more happier, gave him tufted ears to make him resemble his Wildcat species more, and made a logo for him with the late 80s, early 90s aesthetic, an aesthetic that I am personally really fond of due to certain influences in my art from that time period. Late November, Cyan Polar Cat was reintroduced as Cyan Glacier Tooth. His last name, Glacier Tooth, has a meaning to it, of course. Also seen with the type of animal he is. Glacier meaning that Cyan's a cold climate animal, and Tooth because he's a big cat with sharp teeth. Not to worry, he doesn't use his sharp teeth to hurt anyone. He's not that kind of big cat. He's innocent, I think. Yeah, this character just kept on getting better and better. 2012 reaches its endpoint starting 2013 with more art to come. And after trying out different art techniques, reviving old characters of mine, Logan Frost made a comeback, as you can see, as well as developing new ones continuously building my portfolio, I was becoming more and more satisfied with the progress I was making in terms of art. And see, when I brought back Frosty, I gave him an outfit to wear. I came up with new characters like Ralph Leo, who's supposed to be a stereotypical cartoon mountain lion. And I mean stereotypical by, let's just drop an anvil on him. Okay, let's not. But you get what I mean. And a indoor lacrosse playing kangaroo character, who I originally called Boxroo, but was later renamed to The Barrage, or Liam the Barrage Boxley. Barrage started out as a sketch in one of my sketchbooks, not as a lacrosse player, but as a kangaroo named Runegade. I thought it was a kangaroo character I would play around with for a while. I drew him back in January 2013. In that same month, I was also imagining up logos of fictional sports teams, Like, I would imagine if the National Lacrosse League came back to Boston, what would they name the team? I came up with a few logos with specific names. One of them was the Boston Boomerangs. And in a layer concept, with the Boston Boomerangs logo, I incorporated Boxroo in it. But then I would later what am I saying here? Then later on, I would work on the kangaroo character more, as a lacrosse player, of course. And then I settled on the name Boxroo, and then I changed his name to The Barrage, his nickname to The Barrage. So he would be, it was Liam the Barrage Boxley. And he would be introduced a year later in 2014 as Liam the Barrage Boxley. But not for a team called the Boston Boomerangs. It would later become a team known as the Zephyr Bay Boomerangs. A fictional team, part of a fictional league that I would call the Hyper Indoor Lacrosse League, or The Hill. But I could get more into details on that, but it is time to move on. More artwork from 2013 that I did for the Fur Fry comic book. Just like my submission for the 2012 Fur Fry comic book, I wound up getting this one featured into the 2013 comic book as well. Here we have Flashover being commissioned by an anthropomorphic version of Cujo. Stephen King's Cujo, Rabid St. Bernard. He'll give me a description on what kind of art he wants. He wants art of his character. I remember, I think it was, what was her name? Kagra Leopard, who thought that this was really funny. I personally think it was neat. I'm glad to have it in the comic book. Yeah, this wound up being the comic book for Fur Fright, which would be in its final year before being replaced by Furpocalypse. And this was not the only comic book submission that I had that year. I also had one for Anthrocon. Still at the time, it was the world's largest furry convention. In 2012, they had attendance of 5,179, and it just continued to get more attendees every year. But Anthrocon's theme for 2013 was titled The Fast and the Furious. And with this being a car thing, I was looking forward to submit something for the AC comic book. As a fan of NASCAR, and coming from a NASCAR family, of course, I wanted to do something with that. And I knew I was going to have a lot of fun doing this pick for the AC comic book. And after approximately half a year developing rough ideas on this piece, work on this pick began in 2013, and it took longer, and it took and I added more characters than I originally planned to add because I was having so much fun with this. I originally planned to have 10 to 12 characters, but I instead wound up having 19 altogether. And as you can see, this is a pic of a victory celebration with a coyote as the winning driver, standing on the window of his car, shaking a soda bottle in excitement. As you can see, his car is a reference to Denny Hamlin's FedEx car, but the number was different. Instead of it being Denny Hamlin's car number 11, it was 13 because that was the year of this particular Anthrocon. It was a toss-up between 13 and 17, meaning the 17th annual Anthrocon. And also prior to Also, prior to having the FurX Express sponsor on the car, I had the car in a different color scheme as like a placeholder before I could think of a particular sponsor. And as I said, I originally had 10 to 12 characters planned, but I want to be 19 because I had a lot of fun with it. Let me show you the next slide. That's a better pick. This includes the Coyote Driver, EP, Cyan, All-Star, and there were also other, and Cyclone. I think this was like the first time I brought back Cyclone in a while, since 05. And there were also other characters that I meant to draw, particularly for this piece and not for anything else. I think they're all just one-time characters, but maybe I'll use them again. Who knows? Like this elephant character on the left, and we have an iguana, we have a skunk, you get the idea, and a kangaroo with the camera working for a network. But yeah, you get the idea. So as AC 2013 kicked off, one of my friends, Ilka Fur, who was attending the convention, came up to me the Thursday of the convention. And this was the day the vast majority of attendees go to pick up their con badges, because a lot of people pre-register instead of register on site, because if you register on site, you'll just wait a really ridiculously long time in line. When you pre-register, you can just get your bag within minutes or seconds or instantly. So remember to pre-register. But anyway, Local Fur attending convention came up to me on Thursday at con, and he was telling me that he already saw my artwork in the comic book. So I had to immediately go to registration, pick up my badge, and then go across the room where all the comic books are, and I had to get a copy. So here I am looking at going over to the table with the comic books, picking up a copy, and there I look into the index to see see the list of artists who contributed artwork to the comic book. And as I looked at the list of contributing artists, I saw my name credited for the artwork on page 38. And there it was. Right there. As seen in this YouTube video from two furries on a couch when they were reviewing the con bag. From 150 to 205, I think. They came across my page randomly, and I get one little compliment on the green fursuiters. I got a little comment on the green from the green fursuiter on my artwork, saying you get to draw a lot of Sonic art. Yeah. But yeah, having my submission in the Anthrocon comic book at that time, of course, was the world's largest furry convention. That was pretty big for me. Almost as big as having a mascot of mine get selected for a hockey team, right? Yeah. But after seeing it, I just had to snag more copies and give it to a few friends and family members of mine after that. I was so thrilled. So, all the progress made in the art that I drew made me plan something I would launch at the start of the following year. I was getting ready to move to a new house in December 2013 where I would set up home for what I was planning to launch. This was the beginning of the foundation of a new home for Cyan, as well as for the rest of my characters and all the other content that I created, all the art and whatever. And with the branding of this project I was planning to launch being worked on, a launch date was scheduled. On Tuesday, January 28th, 2014, the anniversary of my January 20, 2000 introduction to Scratch, the character that influenced me to create Cyan, motivated me to draw more. This particular project would soon be known as Polar Wildcat Studios. And this is a prototype logo from late 2013 that I had. This is before I had a different logo that I would use as the official logo. But later on, January 28, 2014, I would officially launch Polar Wildcat Studios. It would be like a sort of like an official business for me. So Polar Wildcat Studios, or under PAWS for short, I have a home for my furry work, my characters, and other content that I create. The name Polar Wildcat Studios was chosen to, one, brand my artwork as mine because my persona is a polar wildcat, and two, to show that this is anthro art. Calling it Polar Wildcat Studios, gave me a chance to abbreviate as PAWS to show that this is, furry themed. What you see is what you get. And not to mention there's still that retro style 80s and 90s aesthetic to this, which was a bit of an influence. That's, like I said, that's an era I'm really fond of. People know me as a retro Nickelodeon fan. People know I'm a retro Nickelodeon fan, so yeah. So, and thus, PAWS was born. And here's the original logo when it was launched on January 20, 2014. Original official logo, I should say. And from that point forward, we now come to the birth of AHL Max. Now, I've seen art of sports mascots on sites like DeviantArt, Weasel, Fur Affinity. It wasn't as common as art of other people's personas and personal characters, as well as fan art of characters from TV and movies and games, and Chip the Wolf from the box of Cookie Crisp. But sometimes I'll see sports mascots drawn by others. I've seen mascot fan art in specific galleries. Artists compile like a few examples you see on the screen here. One artist did all the NBA mascots, as well as his own fan-made mascots for teams that didn't have mascots. As you can see, he has a fan-made mascot of the New York Knicks, which is an alley cat of some sort. And as you can see, there's Lucky, the Celtics mascot, the Brooklyn Nets Brooklyn Knight, and Slide the Silver Fox, the Chicago Bulls mascot, Rocky the Mountain Lion, Denver Nuggets mascot. Same happens for other leagues, like the AHL, for example. Like, you see, this artist did wallpapers with NHL mascots. He did one with Blades the Bruin, Howler the Arizona Coyotes mascot, Spartacat, which, in my opinion, this model of Spartacat is far superior than the official kind. I'd say they need to remodel it to this. Yeah, and of course the Washington Capitals mascot as well in this compilation, courtesy of JMH3K on DeviantArt. The NBA mascots are courtesy of Blue Wolf on FA. That's BLEUXWOLF. Yeah, but these are just examples of art they've done. So, and me as an AHL fan and a mascot fan, me doing something like this for the AHL would likely happen. I mean, with the AHL being an overshadowed gem of the league, it's a little bit surprising no one has ever done a gallery of all the AHL mascots before. Unless, it has been done before and I haven't seen it. So, with me being both an AHL fan and an anthropoid artist, there was a likely possibility I would combine those two interests for a special project. One that would, unless there is proof that's been done before, finally give the AHL a complete mascot fan art gallery. During the first quarter of 2014, proposals of a project like this began forming in my head. Later in the summer of 2014, after a few months of playing around with the idea in my mind, I decided to go with an AHL mascot project. I scheduled work to begin in September of that year. And here's a pic of Cyan in AHL apparel, with a few other articles of clothing that I added to him. His wool hat has been replaced by an AHL baseball hat. He's wearing an AHL All-Star Classic jersey, the one from the 2013 All-Star game, because it has the logo in the front. You can also see his scarf, gloves, and boots are in the color scheme as the AHL logos color scheme. And in addition, I also gave him a specific sport coat to wear. A sport coat was given as part of an alternate outfit for Cyan that I was working on. Not particularly for this AHL themed one, but it was basically for something different. And here it is. This was part of a rough sketch of Cyan in an alternate outfit that I was working on around that time. And in addition to the jacket, I gave him a t-shirt and pants. And notice the clothes they had for his default outfit are not used. This was basically a secondary outfit. It was meant to, for, in case I decide to get a fursuit but not a full body one, I would get like a partial, which I wound up doing. And just use clothes that I already had to cover up the flesh when I'm fursuiting. And use that as Cyan's alternate outfit. And with a few modifications, the t-shirt became the jersey with the paw print, and I gave him a hat, a newsboy hat, I should say, and a scarf, and boots again, but they were all teal and blue. That was for a later alternate outfit, which you may have seen in maybe in one of my art galleries. But yeah. As for the AHL mascot project, I originally planned on a series of comics starring Cyan, which and each of the team's mascots, one of them where the Chicago Wolves mascot skates, pranks Cyan by shooting rockets out of his sleeves into his face. And another with Samboni, a highly caffeinated Samboni, coming up and saying, why they call my home arena the Dunkin' Donuts Center? It's so I can stay up all winter for hockey season. Yeah, because of course bears hibernate during hockey season, so Samboni is staying up all hibernation to catch hockey season, probably from drinking all this Dunkin' coffee to keep him awake, but I would feel he must be so totally caffeinated from all that. Yeah. But even though as ideas for stories were developing nicely and somewhat quickly, then came storyboarders block to halt the development of ideas for this project. And to push the project aside even further, there was a job I had at the time where This is where I was transferred from one department at work to another, and work in that new department really took its toll on my health and my sanity. I would still draw and do other things at the time, but this particular project would require a lot of time and effort to complete. So the stress at work and the time working on this project would be a really nightmarish mix for my sanity. So this project remained on the shelf for a while. But in the meantime, this is what I would draw it during 2015 and 2016. I did some Phantom Gourmet fan art. My depiction of who the Phantom would be as a wolf. Here he is in his purple attire. There's another one where Cyan and a few of my characters are reenacting the Surge commercial from 1997. You all remember Surge Soda? I was really surprised they brought it back. There's one with Frosty diving into a lump of snow because foxes love diving into snow. I did some gift art for the In a Pickle restaurant in Waltham. That restaurant is great, by the way. You should really check it out if you have the time. Got a lot of good compliments on that. There's gift art I did for the electro duo Digitalism, referencing one of their songs titled Wolves. Here you have Wolf dancing and singing the lyrics to the song. Here's Rocco's Modern Life fan art I did with Filbert on a bag of Filbert's fish sticks. It's Gordon's fish sticks with Filbert on it, of course. And here we have another comic book submission, this time for Anthem New England 2016. This was drawn in late 2015 because Anthem New England 2016 took place so early in the year. But it stars Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde in Celtics and Bruins attire in front of a furry statue of a furry version of Bobby Orr called Bobby Orrs, or whatever the hell it's pronounced in French. Whatever the French word for bear is, how do you pronounce that? I don't know. This was to go with the theme that Anthem New England had titled Sports Ball, which is, of course, a sports theme. And, I had a few other submissions for that, but this one in particular, one of my favorites. Here's one with my character Ralph as quote-unquote a Pumalope. He's really lost his mind being goofy. Yeah, part puma, part antelope. Oh no, what's happening with him? Simple cat pick. I really drew this picture as a sketch and as gift art for a personal friend of mine because she's a cat fanatic in general. And then I decided to do a color version of that and post it here. And here's the result. And another comic book submission for Anthem New England. This time for their third year in 2017, titled For Science. And eventually as for the job I had at that time, work would eventually become very unhealthy for me. And unhealthy to the point where, I would have to give notice and leave. And with plans to give notice, I went back to playing the AHL mascot project I wanted to do. This time, instead of a series of comics, it would just be individual pics of each of the mascots. But it wouldn't just be pics of these characters. It would include their names, a background or setting, and to go with and something to go with the team mascot or team's theme, and other details. So after giving notice, motivation to do this project started to grow on me over time. And here's a pic of San Jose's Frenzy, the San Jose Barracuda mascot, while it was still in the works. I've yet to add shading. I've yet to add the scene. I've yet to add his name. He was inked in. He was colored in. But, he was still being worked on. In the end, all these pictures, I think, came out really beautifully. They were really coming out beautifully. And, after my last day at work, my motivation to work on this project skyrocketed from there. And while working on this project, during the spring of 2017, while working on this project, I began forming ideas on what to name this particular project. And quickly, AHL Max was chosen. The Max stood for Mascot Art Exhibition, of course. It was also chosen because, it was a really catchy name for this project. And with an official name chosen, I drew this AHL Max logo shortly after our project's name was decided on. As you can see, it's the AHL logo with cyan filling in as the hockey playing silhouette in the original official AHL logo. So a couple of rules I have for myself when coming up with this project. AHL bylaws that I've set up for myself. Team's mascot must be official unless if team does not currently have a mascot other than the official mascot used by the franchise in the past, or team mascots must be official unless if team does not currently have a mascot, either an official mascot by the franchise in the past but not used currently will be used. For example, the Dominion Center's Max was a void filler, or a character from my own imagination will be used. And at this time, the Texas Stars didn't have a mascot yet. So to fill in that void, I came up with my own character, which we're going to get to later. If a team has 2 or more mascots, they will be incorporated in the same pick. With the exception of the Ontario Reigns Dark Knight and Blaze the Dragon, because they're so cool, I just had to use them. And the Binghamton Center's Max the Lion, because at that time it was uncertain if Belleville was going to use him or not. And same for Devil Dog. It was uncertain if he was going to be used or not. Only mascots currently in use can be part of this project. And now, the picks must include mascots' names. They must be in color. They must include shading. Size of picks. Size of each individual pick, when completed, should be at 1280 by 960 pixels, standard for each pick. Each individual pick can have a theme associated with the mascot, the team it represents, the mascot's geographical location, etc. For example, the Iowa Wild's mascot Crash is in an Iowa cornfield setting. That could also be known as the Iowa Wilderness. Picks must be in good taste, of course, and cannot be presented as offensive, creepy, overly bizarre, harmful. Let's keep it family friendly, okay? Humor is okay as long as it sticks with these guidelines. Everything should be drawn from the ground up, no taking graphics or photos or other content to use on these pics. That'll be lazy. And drawing from references and color guides is okay, but don't take content from that isn't yours and just put it on there. I drew the logos on the jerseys completely from the ground up. And it was pretty time consuming with these logos. Trust me. The pictures must have my name and the year I drew it signed. And even after the project is completed, it doesn't mean the project is going to stay that way permanently. Changes can be made at any time. And there were changes made. And there's still going to be changes made. There's going to be one change made later on when we introduce the Colorado Eagles mascot Slapshot into the gallery. Okay, And if a mascot is discontinued and replaced with another mascot, or if a team without a mascot introduces a new mascot, a pick of that mascot will be drawn and added to the series. Like I said, this was where we introduce Slapshot the Eagle. Now that the Colorado Eagles have moved from the ECHL to the AHL. Other rules: no picking your nose. That should be a rule everywhere because it's disgusting. Do not eat the pictures when they are finished. If you are hungry, order a pizza instead. And do not squirt ketchup and mustard on Dave Andrews, because that leads to having one messy Dave Andrews afterwards. So no squirting ketchup and mustard on Dave Andrews. Yeah, I'm just being goofy. I know these weren't really rules, but I know these last 3 weren't really rules, but still, don't do them. Okay. And steps for each of the picks. You can see in the lower right hand corner is Coco, the Hershey Bears mascot, when he was still a sketch. Steps for these picks. Canvas has to be set up as either the standard size of 1280 by 960 or double that of 2560 by 1920. Step 2, sketch the mascot. Step 3, once the sketching phase is complete, outline the mascot with a 3-point black outline stroke on a separate layer. 4 is to color the mascot on a separate layer underneath the outline layer. Do not use the fill bucket tool on the outline layer unless you want the pic to become pixelated. And I don't want it to become pixelated. So therefore, these pictures didn't become pixelated. And after that's complete, step 5, sketch the background / setting on a bottom layer. Step 6 is to outline the background setting on a layer on top of the bottom layer. Step 7, now color in the background / setting underneath the background setting outline layer. Now, steps 5 through 7 seem pretty identical as steps 2 through 4, except it's with a background instead of a mascot. Isn't that fascinating? Whoa. Okay, step 8, add names of the mascots. Step 9, add shading with a 32% opacity, the standard shading opacity, on a separate layer, unless otherwise necessary. Make it a different percentage. Assign name and year. No, not the mascot's names. You already put the mascot's name with her. Assign your name and the year you drew this. Size the canvas down to 1280 by 960 if it's not already at that size. And lastly, you're done. Yeah, step 12 is not really a step. You're just done. All right. Now we're getting close to the release of AHL Max. With most of this project completed, I was ready to announce this project to the public. At AnarchoCon 2017 in Pittsburgh, I hosted a sports mascot fanatics meet and greet there. This was to go with AnarchoCon's theme for that year, Take Me Out to the Ball Game. At the end of the panel, I made the AHL Max announcement there, and I shared physical copies of my picks to those attending my panel. So their eyes were the first eyes besides my eyes to see physical copies of these pictures. And you can see from this screenshot of this video, thanks to YouTube user Kitwana Lion, You can see from this screenshot that most of the picks are already finished. I already have them in the binder, and I only have a few more picks just to work on. The yet to be finished content included the AHL Max intro pick, a collage of all the mascot picks for when all the mascot picks were finished, and a thank you finale pick. And oh yeah, a digital flyer to promote AHL Max featuring dates of the exhibition, August 14th through September 16th, 2017. Here's the flyer, by the way. And a few last minute preparations, and AHL Max was ready to launch. I was very happy to have completed this art project, and I was looking forward to finally presenting it to the public. It had become my magnum opus of 2017. It was a great accomplishment drawing mascots of all the AHL teams. Exhausted from drawing, but satisfied with how it turned out. I took a break from drawing while preparing for the August 14th launch of AHL Max. And now, let's get to details on each of the pictures. And here's the intro pick. Of course, the very first pick introduced into this gallery, because it's an introduction pick. And yeah, the AHL Max intro pick is just a simple way to introduce the compilation of pictures. You can see that there's the AHL Max logo at center ice, with science standing next to it. And of course, the brief description of what AHL Max is, drawn and compiled by Richard Uriarty. Oh, so AHL Max is this compilation of drawings by this guy named Richard Uriarty. Yeah. Now off to the individual mascot picks. Alright. First, from easternmost to westernmost. First one, Zamboni, the Providence Bruins mascot. Pretty straightforward. The Baby Bees mascot, Zamboni, in front of the shape of the Boston and Providence's primary and secondary logo, a mashup of the two, I should say. The one with the big, and him standing on top of his own name. And of all the models of Zamboni, this one, the one that they currently use, is my favorite so far. I've yet to see the very original Zamboni back when he was introduced as a female character, if you can believe that, before they turned him into male. That'll be for another story. But yeah, this is my favorite model of Zamboni. Definitely an upgrade from the previous two. He kind of resembles more of his NHL affiliates mascot, Blades, which is, I mean, maybe Zamboni could be used as like Blades' younger brother or whatever. That would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it? But yeah, moving on, Springfield Thunderbirds mascot, Boomer. This is definitely one of my personal favorites in the gallery. And since Thunder isn't the team's name, I thought it'd be a really cool idea using like a Viking Norse mythology theme to this, as well as a metal element to this, of course. As you can see with the logo, it's in an AC/DC font. As for Boomer, he's holding Thor's hammer. He's the background sky is lightning striking everywhere. And he's holding up devil horns with his fingers, or his feathers, his wings, I guess you could say. Yeah, I mean, overall, this I thought worked way too well. This is why it became one of my personal favorites. But moving on to Sonar. Get ready to explode with cuteness. It's Sonar! Alright. Sonar is truly a package of adorableness. I mean, he just radiates cuteness, and you can't really deny it. You could be a fan of the Sound Tigers. You could be a fan of the. You could be a bitter Whalers fan, wishing the NHL was back in Hartford, but and you could still love Sonar. You know, he's just really the cutest. One of my favorite mascots in the league. I mean, just look at that happy gray fluff. Alright, that's enough complimenting on how cute he is. More about the picture. Now, as you can see, he's sitting on a submarine because the team's nickname Wolfpack was named after a fleet of submarines based in Groton, Connecticut. Not Hartford. Yeah, Groton. But they were only called the Wolfpack when they were in a certain attack formation. Now, as for this pick, I originally didn't have water at the bottom of the pick, and it was just the sub with Sonar on it. But it seemed rather ordinary without the water, so I decided to add it afterwards. And as for his name, it was done in the style of the Hartford Wolfpack word mark, and it has the star from the secondary logo, the one with the submarine with the wolf's head at the front. It has the star from that logo behind it with a white outline. Okay, but before moving on, can we just say one more time? Can we just one more time say he's so freaking adorable? One more time talk about Sonar. He's so adorable. Okay, that's enough. Moving on. Storm, the Sound Tigers mascot. Now, the name Bridgeport Sound Tigers refers to the fact that Bridgeport borders the Long Island Sound. I'm sorry if you thought that Sound Tigers were a breed of tigers in Connecticut that work as DJs, music producers, musicians, and whatever. That would have been really cool. But I do admit that... yeah. But anyway, this refers to the Long Island Sound. And here, he is surfing on the Long Island Sound in a storm, because he's Storm, the tiger of the Long Island Sound. Yeah, that's what this is a picture of. Also, if you've noticed, the surfboard's color scheme is the same as the New York Islanders color scheme, the affiliate of the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. His name is drawn resembling lightning bolts and waves. And there's more elements to be explained. Also, if you're wondering why he's a blue fur tiger as opposed to being orange, like especially on the logo, well, when the Sound Tiger started playing in 2001, the Sound Tigers logo was blue. Actually, I should say that the tiger was originally designed in 2000, and it was blue. It wasn't until 2006 that they changed to orange to, have more of an Islanders aesthetic to it, because the Islanders are their affiliate, of course. But Storm has remained a blue fur tiger all this time, ever since he was introduced in 2001. Now we go on to the Rocket de Laval mascot, Cosmo. Sorry if I can't speak this correctly. Now the team nickname Rocket pays homage to the Montreal Canadiens player Maurice the Rocket Richard. And as you can see, Cosmo is skywriting Maurice Richard's jersey number 9. Yeah, he's definitely a space traveler. With this rocket pack and everything. This art piece is a theoretical illustration as to how he travels around the universe. He represents the space age, while, if I remember correctly, Youppi, the Habs mascot, is a caveman, I think, representing the Stone Age. Wow. Opposite ends of the timeline, no? But moving on to another alien creature. Audi the Yucca. Audi the Yucca Cosmets. At least I think it's pronounced Audi. Because they play at the Auditorium, the Yucca Memorial Auditorium. His team is called the Comets, so it only fits the concept appropriately enough. And I made his name in that classic arcade font that you would see in like Super Mario Brothers and whatnot. And the background has Space Invaders that I drew from the ground up. Like I said, I drew everything from the ground up. I made his name from the ground up. I drew the Space Invaders from the ground up. The Space Invaders, despite having basic geometry, made up of squares and pixels, it took a lot longer than you might actually think. Because of course, maybe it's because I really want to be neat with this concept. But yeah, it took a lot longer to draw the Space Invaders in the background longer than I expected. But of course, when it comes to Audi, he comes in peace. Maybe not when his team's playing against the Crunch or the Devils, I guess. But other than that, he comes in peace. He must love it here on Earth. I really love how this came out. Now, next one, I'm going to get into a lot of detail on. Because the next one is of Melvin, the Lehigh Valley Phantoms mascot. Now, of all the picks in this gallery, this had to be the toughest art block I had to conquer. And it was mainly because of one aspect. It was his species. Melvin is a puck-nosed plododdle. Yeah, fictional species. So one question that was on my mind was, what could you do with a puck-nosed plododdle? I know. You don't know what to do with a puck-nosed plododdle. It's a fictional species made up by the guy who designed Melvin for the Phantoms. Yeah. Thinking about this early on in my project, I knew the art block was going to be quite a block to knock down. Even reading about Melvin's bio, I still had difficulty thinking about what I could do with this pick. But eventually, I was making jokes about Melvin in a somewhat, cynical way. Like, his team's called the Phantoms because his family's become spirits of the dead, Phantoms. In Melvin's bio, Melvin's believed to be the last of his species, the last of the puck-nosed plododdle. A species that was once common throughout Lehigh Valley, and now that the rest of Melvin's family is dead, they've all become Phantoms. Oh God. I'm totally sorry if I ruined your view on Melvin, guys. I'm so horrible. Yeah, looks very upbeat on the outside, all colorful and happy, but I have to wonder what he's really feeling on the inside. Is he lonely being the last of his kind? Yeah, this is getting too gloomy. I apologize. Bad Richard. Alright, moving on. About this pick, I go on about this pick and tell you how this puck-nosed plododdle went to near extinction like mass murder or disease, but like I said, enough with the gloomy fan theories. Now, aside from Melvin, let's talk about the setting. I guess you call this the Phantoms layer. Makes sense. This team is called the Phantoms. Also, if you notice a few hidden elements in this pick, you can see keystones. One on Melvin's torch, and one torch in the shape of a keystone, and the other at the top of the hallway entrance / exit is a keystone in the shape of a keystone. The keystone is Philadelphia's symbol, This Pennsylvania symbol, I should say. Whoops. It's used on Pennsylvania-related things like the highway route signs, the Pennsylvania lottery logo, the state quarter. You get the idea. And several other things associated with the state of Pennsylvania, where the Lehigh Valley Phantoms play in the city of Allentown, Pennsylvania, to be more accurate. One additional note I'd like to add for those that don't know. The Phantoms started out in Philadelphia as the Philadelphia Phantoms. They played in Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Spectrum from 1996 to 2009. After 2009, when they announced demolition of the Wachovia Spectrum, they were exiled out of Philly to Glens Falls, New York, and were then known as the Adirondack Phantoms. I'm really glad they kept the nickname. I mean, it's one of the best nicknames, one of the best logos in the league too, I should say. Yeah, they kept the name while they were in New York State, and then they moved back to Pennsylvania in 2014. They moved to the PPL Center in Allentown, Pennsylvania, which is a Flyers market, and remained a Flyers affiliate since they began playing in Philadelphia 22 years ago as the Phantoms. So now they're the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Their mascot is Melvin, who's all colorful and happy on the outside, must be miserable on the inside. Stop it with the gloomy talk, Richard. Alright. I think we've done a lot of talk about Melvin. We're going to move on to further move on in this gallery even further. But except I'll have one more thing to say about Melvin. I was really glad I got to conquer the start block. I mean, think of the Phantoms there because his team is called the Phantoms. Melvin is a puck goes below, which is practically considered a monster. I don't mean to say monster in a bad way. Sorry, Melvin. Okay. I will move on. I won't keep on talking about Melvin. I won't keep talking about Melvin. I won't. Melvin's cute. Okay. Now officially moving on. This is the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins mascot, Tux. Tux is one of the most popular mascots in the league, and after seeing for myself why, when I got to see him at a Baby Pens game in 2007, his personality, he was really funny. His antics, one of the best. His team's in a territory where it's more of a Flyers, Rangers, and Devils market, I would say, as opposed to a Penguins market, which is a rival team. And yet, he still generates a big fan base in northeastern Pennsylvania. His team generates a fan base in northeastern Pennsylvania. Man, that's quite something. But you gotta love Tux. So, anyway, the picture's pretty basic. Tux is in front of a triangle, in front of the triangle that has the Penguins logo. Here he is sitting down, wanting a hug, looking all adorable. That's right, gotta love Tux. Moving on to Devil Dog. Now, Devil Dog is the mascot of the Binghamton Devils, formerly the mascot of the Albany Devils, and formerly the mascot of the Lowell Devils. And this was drawn at a time where it was uncertain if they were going to use Devil Dog as the B Devils mascot or not, now that the Devils have moved to Binghamton and the Binghamton Center has moved up north to Belleville, Ontario. But yeah, this was drawn during a time meant as a placeholder until they announced if Devil Dog was going to be the mascot or if they were going to come up with a new mascot in general. But yeah, I'm so glad they're still keeping Devil Dog active. I remember when I first saw him back in 2006 when he was mascot of the Lowell Devils. he became one of my top 10 all-time favorite mascots. I really like the idea that the Devil's organization didn't go with a stereotypical model devil, humanoid with red flesh and tail with point at the end and horns, but decided on a more unique concept, making him a anthropomorphic bulldog. I mean, you just gotta love that pup from the underworld. He has a devil's pitchfork, hockey stick hybrid prop thingy that he had at least when he was in Lowell. Not sure if he still does now. It's the same pitchfork stick thing on the Lowell Devils logo, where it had the devil, not devil dog, but a devil leaping from behind the L-shaped, the letter L with the devil horns and tail as like the it had like a devil leaping behind the L-shaped devil, as opposed to let it be an L-shaped devil on its own. You know, that, I mean, at least they added that when he came up with the Lowell Devils mascot. As for Devil Dog himself, he may look sly and menacing in this pic, but he's really an angel, ain't he? Now on to the first human in the gallery, Crunchman, who was first introduced in 1994. Back then, when the Crunch first came to Syracuse, he had a different color scheme. It was with a more high luminosity color scheme, with yellow, teal, purple. You know, a common trend in the 90s. Just like with the team's nickname Crunch, when they were coming up with wacky nicknames for sports teams back then. In 2000, Crunchman was replaced by Al the Ice Gorilla, before returning in 2012, only with a different color scheme. Well, with the Tampa Bay Lightning color scheme, as the Crunch are affiliated with now. And in addition to Crunchman, his name is in a bold, mighty, superhero-like font, I would say. And the background is blue, gray, and black lightning bolts, because the team's affiliated with the Lightning now. Now on to Coco, the Hershey Bears mascot. This is the very first piece I worked on and finished. It was pretty coming up with elements for this pick because Hershey's known for its chocolate factory, of course. These picks were drawn in the order of which I was ready to draw them in, not in the order of which I'm presenting them in here, which is easternmost, westernmost. Anyway. As you all know, Hershey, Pennsylvania is home to the Hershey Chocolate Company, the chocolate factory. They make a lot of Hershey bars, which, as you can see, Coco is standing on a giant Hershey bar with his name on it, and he's eating a smaller bar. And you can also see in the background there's Hershey's Kisses, because Hershey makes kisses as well. And as for Coco himself, he's really happy with his Hershey bar. He's happy with his hometown. You know, he has the most legendary, he's mascot of the most legendary team in the league. His town has an amusement park. His town has a chocolate factory. His town has everything, and everyone else is jealous of him. They're even jealous of his big fat belly from eating all this chocolate. Now, moving on to Max the Binghamton Senators mascot, or in this case, the Belleville Senators mascot. Max was used as the Binghamton Senators mascot. And like I said, just like with Devil Dog, this was drawn during a time we were uncertain as to whether or not this mascot in particular was going to be used as well. Uses the Belleville Senators mascot. So abiding by my own bylaws that I've set up, I drew Max the Mountain Lion, the mascot of the team when they were the Binghamton Senators. He's one of my favorite mascots as well, because he's a feline. I like him. He's a mountain lion. I like him. I wanted to do a Roman soldier theme to it, just like how the Senators have a Roman soldier theme to their branding. And I thought that looked really cool. Yeah. I made his name in the style of how they would make Roman numerals in this font style. I also have him in an amphitheater, as you can see in the background. He's at the Roman Colosseum. And of course he's got gladiator props, the sword and shield. I thought that would look really cool. I kind of wish, they would still use him as the mascot for the Belleville Senators. But from what I've heard, he's still in Binghamton, still being used as mascot, not for the Devils or for any other particular team, but for special events or something like that. And as I'm doing this presentation, Belleville has still yet to introduce a mascot of their own. And once they do, I'll come up with a picture of that and post it here. So let's move on. Now, the Moose, the Rochester Americans mascot, you might be thinking, what does Moose have to do with American symbolism? Yeah, more with Canadian symbolism than Americanism, but allow me to explain. The Moose mascot didn't start out as the Rochester Americans mascot, but instead started out as the mascot for a local Rochester-based radio station back in 1979. However, he did make appearances at Amherst games that year, and then attended all Amherst home games a year later during the 80-81 season. And then the Amherst officially made him the official mascot, of course. And of course, with his team called the Americans, this gave me something. This gave me the opportunity to do something really patriotic for him, which I really love to do. This is really cool. And so I think, he's a moose, but he's an eagle at heart, a bald eagle at heart, because he's so patriotic. I love him. Next, to north of the border. Duke the Dog, representing the Toronto Marlies, AHL affiliate of the Maple Leafs, together in the same city, but in different arenas, of course. The Maple Leafs at the Air Canada Centre, while the Marlies are at the Ricoh Centre, 2 miles away. As you can see, Duke is in blep mode here. For those who don't know what blep means, it's sticking your tongue out. That's what blep means. But anyway, here he is in blep mode, standing in front of the Toronto city skyline. Yeah, that CN Tower is hard to miss. I remember when I arrived at the Pearson International Airport near Toronto in 2014, even with all the fog, you could easily see a silhouette of the CN Tower in the distance. I mean, that tower just wants attention. And of course, in the sky is a maple leaf shape in the background, a symbol of Canada. I really need to visit T. again. And by the way, Toronto's Toronto's the home of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Not too close to where this guy lives. The mascot of the defending Calder Cup champions. So moving on to Chubby. Now, if your team nickname is the Checkers, it must be relatively to come up with a mascot associated with a concept of this particular pattern of squares, right? Well, it didn't seem too hard coming up with the name. Chubby. Get it? Chubby Checker. But what is Chubby anyway? Well, they made him a polar bear, which has nothing to do with checkers, but more so with ice hockey. So there you go. It all makes sense now. As for this pick in general, you gotta love his happy jumping Yahoo concept I got going with this. I just love making happy pictures. His happiness can make others happy too. I like to go for happy pics because it can generate happiness in real life too. I believe happiness is the fuel to give people motivation and willingness to make their world better and brighter. That's the goal with Polar Wildcat Studios. That's the goal with Pause. Raising happiness to make the world better. And as for the background, of course, it's made up of checkers. What could be more appropriate? Although I did have to put a transparent black layer over the checkers to darken them and have this particular aura around Chubby to make Chubby stand out from the background better. But, this came out great overall. Second half of the exhibition, the Cleveland Monsters Sully the Seagull. The Cleveland Monsters started out as the Lake Erie Monsters before rebranding to Cleveland Monsters in 2016. 2016 was the same year that team won the Calder Cup, by the way. Sullivan Seagull, or Sully for short, is the team's mascot. No, he's not a monster. A seagull, despite the team's nickname. In this pic, he's standing on a monster. It's the monster from the Cleveland Monsters logo, of course. If the team's going to use the name Monsters, I should incorporate the monster in this piece somehow, right? The monster doesn't appear too happy, of course. He's all like, oh god, why am I having this stupid bird stand on me in the first place? Sorry, monster. But as for the background, it's my attempt at making the Cleveland city skyline, the city that the team plays in. Not sure what other people think, but there it is. Also, notice how I made the skyline in the monster's colors, gold and maroon. Same colors used for the Cavaliers who play in the same arena the Monsters do. I thought that color scheme worked well enough. So, now we got the first more than one mascot pick. Griff and Finn. I almost did not incorporate Finn because, as I was looking for pictures of Griff, I came across pictures of Finn as well. So glad to incorporate him in here as well. And no, the previous pick with Sully and the monster did not count. The monster was not the mascot, it was Sully. Now, you gotta love Greek mythology. Griffins are cool animals. Too bad they don't exist in real life. Or is it best that they don't exist in real life? I don't know. I guess creating mascots of that species would be as close as we'll ever get to having them exist in the real world, but we'll accept it. Like I said, even though I know they're really people in costume, you do get the vibe that there are these particular characters, these particular creatures. And like I said, it's a good thing I learned about Finn, because when I was looking for references of Griff, I came across pictures of Finn as well and chose to put him in a pick. And someone who attends Griffin's games, I think it was on DeviantArt, who came across this pic at one time. Someone who attends Griffin's games gave me praise for incorporating Finn in there, because, you know, he or she thought that, you know, Finn didn't get a lot of recognition. I wouldn't blame her at all. Good thing I decided to add him. And next up is Skates, the Chicago Wolves mascot. Or shouldn't they be the Rosemont Wolves? Whatever. I almost went with a completely different concept for this pick. Or Skates would be a more toonier wolf shooting rockets out of his sleeves. Practically Acme brand rockets. You know, it's like the rockets he would shoot out of his sleeves at the beginning of every Wolves home game, except Skates was more of a was more modeled as a realistic looking wolf than a toonier wolf. If you've seen the Chicago Wolves logo, that's what Skates looks mostly like, except that his ears are folded down a little bit. But Skates is modeled after a particular wolf. So I chose to scrap the idea of him being toony, you know, or like a Tex Avery style wolf or something like that. And I want to go with something more associated with the city of Chicago. Even though they don't play in Chicago, they play in Rosemont. So I went with jazz, blues, swing, etc. That associates with Chicago. And I would think, you know, Skates must make a great singer, make a great jazz singer, as much as he does a howler. If only the Wolves stayed a blues affiliate, then this would make too much sense. This would make as much sense as possible. But also, the background and his name are maroon and gold, respectively. Since those are the Wolves' jersey colors, oddly enough, not the logo colors, as you can see, black gray with green eyes. I'd rather they would have been black and dark gray like the logo, but that's just my opinion. Oh well. Moving on to Roscoe, the Milwaukee Admirals mascot. No, Roscoe is not a skeleton. He's this orange-furred creature thing. About Roscoe, like pretty much everyone else, I don't know what species he really is. No offense, Roscoe, but regardless as to what he really is, whether or not we can tell what he's supposed to be, it all comes down to how the character is designed, regardless of the concept. Take it from someone who designed Firestorm the Fox. But anyway, Roscoe's team is called the Admirals. He has an Admiral's hat that he wears. Here in this pic, he's doing a salute, and his background has anchors. What could be more fitting? Yeah. But of course, when Roscoe was introduced in 1998, I know the team's been playing around since, the 70s? But Roscoe was introduced in 1998, and they were using a different Admiral's logo. One where you had an Admiral with flesh at the time. And then in 2006, they introduced this cheesy skeleton logo. It was a cheesy skeleton logo at that time. You know, he kind of reminds me of Sans from Undertale, if you ask me. And then in 2015, they came up with a new logo. It's another skeleton guy, but, you know, definitely a much more better one. But yeah, moving on to Hamilton E. Hogg, the Rockford Ice Hogs mascot. Ice Hogs. Shows how creative you can get with your team nicknames, right? Personally, I really think their branding concept is a cool concept. Hemi's just as cool. And there's nothing like being messy and at the same time being charming. Instead of it being he's messy and that's not good, it's the messiness makes this funny and cute. That's what this is. That's what the goal of this picture is. But then again, he is a pig. You know, pigs dwell and play in mud. He's in a pig pen in a farm in Illinois. Illinois and all the other adjacent states have all this farmland. And I remember on my way to the Quad Cities while going through Illinois, it was farmland like everywhere. And I remember going through Ohio and Indiana, and even though it was like midnight, it was the dead of night, you couldn't see anything. You could still tell you were going through farmland just by riding through it. And speaking of farmland, coming to the Iowa Wild mascot Crash. Iowa, known for corn and cornfields, and the Iowa State Fair, and more corn, and the Iowa Wilderness, and Iowa Wild Hockey, and Crash, the Iowa Wild mascot, who is somewhere lurking around in the Iowa Wilderness. Just like Nordy the bear, the Minnesota Wild mascot, Crash has a fur pattern somewhat similar to Nordy's. And I'm guessing Nordy is a mountain lion version of. I'm guessing Crash is a mountain lion version of Nordy, or some other big cat, because he has a tail and he's got these rounded ears and whatnot. Worrying maybe he's not so dangerous, is he? What an innocent, happy creature he is. Now back to north of the border again. We go to Mick E. Moose. That's right, Mick E. Moose. No, Disney hasn't come to the Moose organization to slap a lawsuit in their face yet. Or are they ever going to? I don't know. The mascot itself, not only is he the mascot for the Manitoba Moose, but also for their NHL affiliate, the Winnipeg Jets. He's definitely one busy moose, having so many games to attend. He's been the Moose mascot for a long time, back when they started out as the Minnesota Moose in 1994. They became the Manitoba Moose 2 years later in 1996, and 5 years after that, moved out of the IHL to the AHL. Of course, the Moose wasn't there. The Moose wasn't like in the AHL that whole time. There was a time they moved to St. John's, Newfoundland, and became the St. John's Ice Caps. This was before they moved them back to Winnipeg. But let's move on. And this next pick is the first pick not in the original AHL Max series. And I'm going to explain that. This is Ringo the Ringtail, the mascot of the Texas Stars. Ringo was introduced at the end of last year, 2017, and prior to that, the Texas Stars didn't have a mascot. AHL Max was already completed with a fan-made mascot for the Texas Stars, so I had a void filler at the time, which we'll get to in the next slide. But at the end of 2017, Ringo was introduced. Ringo the Ringtail, an animal that's common around Texas. The name Ringo because he's a ringtail and he associates with stars. Ringo Star. Alright. And as you can see in his pic, he's on a farm at nighttime. Looking at his name in the form of a constellation. He was I think he was voted like the most popular mascot in the league this past year during Mascot Madness, I think, if I recall. But yeah, he's one of my favorites too. I mean, I can't blame him at all. As for the fan-made mascot for the Texas Stars, I came up with Sirius the Dog. Again, this character was a void filler at the time the Texas Stars didn't have a mascot. This was before they introduced Ringo later that year. At that time, the Stars and the Belleville Senators were the only teams in the league without mascots. Only Belleville was beginning their first year in Belleville, Ontario, while the Texas Stars have been in Texas since '09. So Texas was long overdue for a mascot. I went with the dog character because it was the kind of animal a lot of people already love. I mean, his primary fur color, as you can tell, is gray, matching the Stars gray. That's still a natural fur, which is still a natural fur color. But his hairdo, tips of his ears, his pupils, his nose, and paw pads are Stars green. Not as natural, but it still works considering green is one of the signature colors of the Stars color scheme. If you also look closely at his paw pad, it's supposed to be shaped like a 5-point star. I also made it so that his hairdo would be in the shape of a star. If you were to see the back of his head, and stars on the tips of his ears, for when they would be viewed from, if the views were pointing at you. And if you notice the spots on his muzzle, if you connect them together, more stars. As for the name, Sirius is the name of the brightest star in the constellation of Canis Major. I know some people have suggested to me that, I should pitch this mascot design to the Texas Stars organization. I'd like to say I didn't really draw this to pitch to the Stars, suggesting that they should use him as their mascot. It was simply for this particular project, and that was it. But I must say, it means a lot that people would think it would work as their mascot, and that I should send this to the Stars organization. I don't know. What do you think? Would you rather have Sirius as the Stars mascot, or do you think they're better off with Ringo anyway? Ringo's still really cool, I must say, but yeah. Let's move on. Standing in front of San Antonio's Alamo Mission is the San Antonio Rampage mascot, T-Bone. The team was originally going to be called the San Antonio Stampede, but because there was already another sports team in the area with that name, the nickname was then changed to Rampage. That was the only part of the branding they changed, while everything else remained the same, except for the color scheme when they became owned by the San Antonio Spurs a few years later. One thing you can notice is that I gave T-Bone pupils in this pic. Yeah, he doesn't have pupils on the logo, nor does the costume version of him have them. So it seems that I found a cure for Little Orphan Annie syndrome, haven't I? Okay. Alright. But let's move on. The Tucson Roadrunners are the AHL affiliate of the Arizona Coyotes. Makes me wonder, do both teams have Acme as their sponsors? Well, like the Warner Brothers Roadrunner, Dusty here is running down a highway in a southwestern desert. The direction sign post is at an angle, having the arrow on the sign curve and point Dusty to show this is Dusty. The trickiest part of this pic was the illusion of motion of his legs. Basically, I had to color and smudge and airbrush this area repeatedly until it came out in a way I would finally be satisfied with. You can easily see spray marks going around in the circle, giving the illusion that he's running fast. And while I already noticed this through my own observations from before, and I'm sure several others have noticed this as well, Dusty has a bit of a Sonic the Hedgehog image to him. Well, the Roadrunners logo has a Roadrunner with a Sonic-esque image to it as well, of course. And similar logos using the same type of cartoon Roadrunner have been used for other hockey teams as well, such as the Phoenix Roadrunners of the WHL in the 60s and 70s, the WHA in the 70s, the new IHL from 89 to 97, and the AHL Toronto Roadrunners from the 03-04 season. Finally, we get to California. Starting off with the San Diego Gulls mascot. The San Diego Gulls must have found a way to conquer his sanity during the summer. Since summer happens all year round there anyway. Take notes from Gulliver, guys. Break out the hockey gear and shoot a beach ball around. Who says there ain't no cure for the summertime blues? And if you can tell from the letters in his name, the two L's and the V are meant to be shaped like silhouettes of flying seagulls. It can be pretty fun adding secret elements to graphic arts. Much like it's like Amazon's logo, where you have the arrow starting from the first letter A in its name and curving down, pointing to the letter Z, giving that find everything from A to Z message. You get the idea. Okay. Time to move on. Our first trio pick. The Kingston Trio, I guess you could call it. Or, yeah, Kingston, Blaze, and the Dark Knight, the Ontario Reign Trio. Here's the first trio pick in this compilation: Kingston, the Snow Leopard, Blaze the Dragon, and the Dark Knight. I'm aware that the Dark Knight and Blaze are no longer being used as mascots for the Reign, but because they're such awesome characters in my book, I want to incorporate them in anyway. My art, my rules. Well, anyway, Kingston here started out as the mascot for the Los Angeles Kings. That role, of course, now goes to Bailey the Lion. But Kingston came out of retirement to become the Reign's mascot. Prior to that, Dark Knight and Blaze had mascot duties for the Reign franchise. I felt bad for those two, because they're both so awesome. They should have never been put into retirement. Now, another hidden element, not too hidden though, in this pick, are the wall torches. They're shaped like the current Ontario Reign logo, that Chevy-style logo the Kings used during the 1990s. I gotta say, this wound up better than I had expected. I knew this would come out excellent, considering using three characters in the same picture, but I personally am much more pleased with this than I thought it would be. Now we got another trio. The Bakersfield Condor, affiliate of the Edmonton Oilers. That should tell you why they're out in an oil field. Before anyone asks, this doesn't make any sense. Now, upon becoming an AHL team in 2015, the Condors introduced Riggs, the oil-headed superhero guy. It made me wonder why Edmonton didn't use Riggs as theirs, since their team is called the Oilers. This was a year before Edmonton came up with Hunter the Lynx, by the way. But now, as for the two Condors, this is Colonel Claude and his daughter, Baby Cal. You can see they're all happy together. One happy family. One happy Condors family. Adopting, I guess you could call Riggs a stepbrother. Who's the daddy and the mommy of Riggs, I guess. Okay, moving on. Frankie the Firebird. So, Stockton Heat's Frankie the Firebird, the fiery mohawk, was the first thing that generated ideas for me to use in this pick. I joked around with the idea of setting hats on fire when he puts them on, and eventually I went with him using his hair to barbecue a sausage here. This pretty much led to what I would imagine through the rest of the picture here. His name in calligraphy on fire, similar to that of a restaurant logo, I guess, and then the setting, which is supposed to be inside of a barbecue restaurant, maybe. And this is what we have here. Frankie's a Firebird, but I wonder, do you think they should have made him a Phoenix? Or is he already a Phoenix? Yeah, I think that would have been pretty cool. Yeah, but that's just my opinion. Still, Frankie's a cool character overall. Last but not least, Frenzy. The Barracuda play in the same arena as the San Jose Sharks. Their NHL affiliate plays in. Now that's convenient for prospects getting called up. Barracudas are aquatic animals with no feet. I know they gave Frenzy feet because the person playing as Frenzy needs to move around, but here I can remove his feet and give him his fishtail. He's a Barracuda, and I'm letting him be a Barracuda. My art, my rules. But yeah, he's underwater. His name is Barracuda Orange. And speaking of the team nickname, the team was named after Barracuda Networks, who are a team's presenting sponsors. I think that's all 31 picks, I should say, of the already presented AHL Max. But of course, we have to come up with this as a little bonus. Cyan and the league's CEO and president, Dave Andrews. Yeah, as a little bonus, here's a pic I drew of Cyan with the AHL CEO and president, Dave Andrews. This was drawn back in 2015 during the time I had had that job that was really a pain to me. This was meant as a This was meant as a reminder about this AHL mascot project I wanted to do. Not to forget it, And while the idea was pushed aside, I knew it wouldn't be pushed aside permanently, and I would get to work on it when I'm able to do so. Here's Cyan sharing Dave Andrews a drawing he did of the AHL CEO and president. And apparently the AHL CEO and president doesn't know what to say. He's so speechless because it's so brilliant. Yeah, the drawing he did is just pure genius. He's got quite the gift. Better than mine. I mean, with those kinds of skills, who knows? This is what all mankind's gonna look like someday, isn't it? Now, here's where we got to show all the pictures all at once, without Ringo, of course. Here was the very first collage. It was the very first AHL Max collage. This was before Ringo was introduced. See, Sirius the dog is still there. When Ringo was introduced, I had to draw him, I had to post it, and I had to update the collage. Later to this. So now it's complete. Or is it? Well, this was, of course, from the 2017-28 season, a season that had come and gone, and the AHL now is an expansion team for the 2018-2019 season and beyond. It's the Colorado Eagles, who moved from the ECHL up to the AHL, and with that, I decided to do art of their mascot, Slapshot the Eagle. Are you guys ready to see it? Well, not yet. Well, this was the thank you finale pic that I posted. It shows thank you shout outs to those who've shout outs to people in groups and whatnot that have an influence in the artwork that I draw, and that that motivated me to create AHL Max in particular. Because AHL Max wouldn't be here without all these guys, and I have a lot of thanks to give to them, a lot of gratitude to give to them. Other details: the Pause secondary logo at the top, along with a logo I designed around 2012 for a team called the Stripe Backs. It featured a skunk character. So, now is time we finally introduce the picture of Slapshot the Eagle. I'm going to reveal it in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1.5, 1, 0.5, 0.4, 0.3. Alright, let's get right to it. Wow. Yeah. Anyway, this is my pick of Slapshot the Eagle. Now presented to the public. Anyway, more details about Slapshot. As you can see, he's mountain climbing and using his hockey stick to mountain climb. And I know he can like fly to the top because he's an eagle and all that, but this makes it look more dramatic, and this makes it look more it's cartoon logic, okay? I mean, he's an eagle with human characteristics. Does that make any sense? No. Okay, and I thought I'd use him climbing a mountain like he's on a rise from one league to another. He's moving on up to the AHL. Moving on up. And of course, since he's called Slapshot, give him his hockey stick. Speaking of which, his name is in the colors of the Colorado state flag. Blue, white, red, yellow. Which is also the same colors the Colorado Eagles use. So yeah, there you go. The Slapshot the Eagle mascot finally introduced. And now this completes the collage for the time being. But what kind of collage will I come up with during the 2019-2020 season and beyond that? We won't wait to find out. So, I got some advice from yours truly. Now, first and foremost, stick with what your heart desires. Passion should come first. It's a key fuel for continuing to do what you love doing. As long as you are passionate for whatever you're passionate for, stick with it. Keep going. Not only will you improve over time, but also your passion can grow alongside your experience. Secondly, do not worry about other people's egos. Like I said, passion first. Don't worry about other people's egos. Don't worry about being more popular than the other. It's not really a good idea to compare yourself to others who are more popular, and for you to say to yourself, I wish I were as popular as he is. Because then you would start feeling bad for yourself. And even if you already are a popular artist, don't let that ego take over your mind, because it'll just make you more smug. Okay, next up, draw as constantly as you can. To keep your art skills from getting rusty, draw as often as possible. It's good exercise for your arting. And when you're out and about, bring a sketchbook with you. When ideas pop up, anything to yourself, maybe I should draw that, draw it. Draw it in your sketchbook while you have it with you. But at the same time, when art block comes around, don't try to force yourself or strain yourself to keep searching for ideas. I mean, ideas don't always come right away. I mean, sometimes it's best to wait until new ideas come rather than just ask yourself repeatedly, what should I draw now? What should I draw now? What should I draw now? Instead of that, and I know art block isn't really fun, but when it comes around ideas, when it comes around, just wait until ideas come around so you can combat it afterwards. I mean, eventually you would come up with new ideas and art block will be conquered by then. It was just like with the Melvin pick. Eventually ideas would come and I would come up with ideas of what to do for the Melvin pick. If you're going to scrap an idea, don't scrap it away completely. What may be an idea that may not work out in one project at one point in time may be better for another project later. So do not throw away that idea altogether. It might not only be useful in a future project, but it can also save you time and effort in that future project as well. I'm going to name an example. Disney's Frozen. Basically, the movie Frozen was originally planned to be a movie in the 1930s. I remember Walt Disney came up with concept art for it, but he wasn't satisfied with how the movie was going, so that was on the shelf for quite a while until they brought the story back, brought the idea of Frozen back, and somehow it was the highest grossing movie at its time. It was a really successful movie when it came out in 2013. So, yeah, good thing that didn't get thrown away completely. Now, another thing, show support for other artists as well. I mean, there are other artists that, if there are other artists that you show support for, if you were influenced by them, you show your support for them. Commission them to do art for you if they're open for commissions. You can do gift art for them. You can learn from them, learn from each other. And in return, they can show support for you as well. But most importantly, along with passion, have fun. And that's it. Well, now I'm ready for this special announcement. Oh, God, it's after midnight already? God. I'm going to go on with the special announcement anyway. We have an addition to AHL Max known as the AHL Max Defunct Edition. This includes more art featuring mascots of defunct AHL teams. More details on that. This edition will feature art of mascots of defunct AHL teams in the same way the current AHL mascots were drawn in the AHL Max series. Now, the number of pictures that will be drawn in the defunct division will be determined based on the amount of money pledged through Patreon before June 30th, 2019. In addition, a minimum of 5 pictures will be drawn for the defunct division, regardless of the amount of Patreon funding. With every $10 funded before the June 30th deadline, another picture will be drawn and added to this edition. So, what is Patreon? Patreon is a site where creators such as artists, musicians, producers, etc. can receive funding from their supporters in what they do. Those who pledge can get rewards from these creators in return. Pledging could be like $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever. And here's some rewards you can get for funding through Patreon. $1 or more a month. You'll have your name featured on the list of Pause Posse members, which will be featured on the Pause pages: Facebook, DeviantArt, Weasel, for Affinity. You also have the option to use your Patreon name or a desired alias, pending approval by me. You also have the option to use your real name, or you can remain anonymous. The $1 or more tier can have you participate for a chance in the seasonal raffle. I'll get to that later on. A signed print mailed to you. and a special surprise gift if pledged by June 30th, 2019. For $5 or more, you'll get all the $1 or more perks, as well as access to the Pause secret schedule, where patrons at this tier can learn what I plan to draw in the future, access to works in progress, access to completed work before they get presented to the interwebs publicly, and a 25% discount on commissions. In order for this discount to work, I need to have proof that you are a Patreon donor at this tier. This is if you're talking through me through a different site. Now, for $10 or more, all the $5 or more perks, but with 50% off on commissions. And you would also have access to special exclusive live streams. As opposed to just the regular art streams, which, everyone can watch. But with the premium streams, there'll be access to those who pledge $10 or more through a month through Patreon. These streams could be really special streams, such as, say I want to do gaming streams or whatever. But yeah, $10 or more will get you that. And in addition to the standard Patreon rewards, Pause members will also receive the one who funds the most money before the June 30th deadline will have a choice as to what defunct team mascot he or she would want me to draw. And if $100 or more is pledged before said deadline, the 3 patrons that fund the most will each have a choice as to what mascots they want me to add to this edition. Sounds cool, huh? Now, as for how the seasonal raffle works, patrons will receive a ticket for every $1 they fund before the seasonal raffle deadline. This seasonal raffle deadline is also the same as the gift deadline, June 30th. A winner will be selected randomly after June 30th. For example, if you have pledged $20 altogether before the June 30th deadline, you'll get 20 tickets. Whole dollars only, in no sense, whole dollars only. Winner will receive free art from me. The winner can decide who or what he or she wants me to draw, whether it be their persona, a character they're a fan of, whether it be an anthro-human or feral, a picture of the winner, or a picture of a friend or a family member, etc. It's completely their decision. And my Patreon page is and the Patreon page is Polar Wildcats. It's patreon.com/Polar Wildcat Studios. And now for a Q&A. Not that I think, stream won't just automatically stop in there, but since I'm still recording a video that's going to be uploaded to YouTube anyway, and I received a question prior to this. I won't do a Q&A except for this one particular question. Yeah, it was going to be, it couldn't be about politics. It couldn't be about something in my personal life that I prefer to keep personal. But one question I got from Joseph Gallagher, he asked me, is your interest into AHL or is it hockey in general? To answer that question, hockey in general has been a big interest. Yeah, the AHL has a special place in my heart, but I'm into other leagues as well, such as the NHL, of course, with the Boston Bruins. Lately, I have been following the ECHL now that they have teams in this area, like the Worcester Railers, the New Manchester Monarchs, and the Maine Mariners. I've also been following the Worcester Blades of the CWHL, the Boston Pride of the NWHL. yeah, hockey in general has been an interest. Well, since that's the only question I received, since that's the only question I received throughout that Q&A, and while this video is still recording, now come down to the finale. People who I'd like to personally thank. I want to thank the following for making AHL Max possible, as well as how I got up to here, coming up with this presentation. People who have inspired me, people who have motivated me, whether I know them in person or not, whether they know me or not, or whatever. Alden Bushytail, I would like to thank. Alex Salisbury at Animatic Boston, Alicia Reyes, an All That cast member, Andrew Hart, Maine Mariners fan, Andy Last, better known as Andy Synth, host of Beyond Synth, Toronto's Babs McGarrett, better known as Babsy Wolf, another talented artist, Betsy Cole, another Maine resident known as Betsy Beaver, Bob Clampett, Bob Nelson, Bobby Orr, Byron Howard, Cameron Hans, Chad Moore, Charlie Edward, voice actor, Chris Roy, who I was really honored to be considered as doing a particular logo for the Maine Mariners fan club, the Maine Navigators. Great that you considered me, at least. Chris Sobieniak, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name. Christopher Mahegan, Christopher Smith, Christopher Stephen Paul, better known as Loki Wolfdog. Chuck Jones, Create Summer, Dan Wolfie, see you after New England, Danny. Dan Simpson, creator of Ozzy and Millie. Glad you liked that fan art I did for you over a year ago of Ozzy when I got to meet you in person. Daniel Morgan, Danny Antonucci, Danny Tamborelli, Darlene Geloso, Dave Andrews, CEO and President. Dave Cox, Dean Rumsey, Dean Scungio, Dev Madan, Diane DiMacurio, Dingaroo, another talented artist who, not too many people have heard of for a while, but I know he's doing okay because I met him at Anthrocon 2017. DJ Count, DJ Depraved, DJ Gomez, Doug Lawrence, Doug Refue, Douglas Morgan, Dr. Diaboliclaw, Dr. Samuel Conway, better known as Uncle Kage and Furry Fandom, Drew Linslow, better known as Cootie Birdo, Elizabeth Anders, better known as Nisha and Nishida, Ernie Bach Jr., Ferry Corsten, Frank Skanicki, Frederick Aronson, Gabor Chupo, Gail Frostbane, Gareth Emery, Greg Shea, Guy Gilchrist, Hampton Yunt, Inu Ukami, Ishmael Tufeki, one half of Digitalism, Jackie Boudreau, Jake Clark, Jamie at Game Underground, Javier the Fox, Jazzy Marscat, Jens Moel, the other half of Digitalism, Jerry Lyons, Jez from Motorcycle. Embrace me, surround me as the rush comes. Sorry about it. Jessica Brown, Jim Cummings, Jim the Shields, better known as Flash Timberwolf. Joe Murray, Joe Orsak, Jonah Ray, John O'Grant, Jonas Abercrombie, Joseph Gallagher, who I just answered his question to during this presentation. Judy Kenny, Justine Suisa, Karen Cox, Keith Lagasse, Kel Mitchell, Keenan Farms, Keenan Thompson, Kevin Haverty, Leah Doremus, Lee Tokar, Leanne Cox, Lindsay Problazanski, Lisa Simons, Maggie Boudreau, Mark Jackson, Marco Merrick, Marcus Schultz, Matthew Lister, Michael Berlin, Michael C. Morona, Michael Kazette, Mike Kazala, Miles E. Trey-Sandor, Mitch Shower, Nancy Hancock, Orlando Fox, who is extremely talented at her age. I mean, just amazing. Check out her art if you can. Pavo Siliamaki, Peter Hannon, creator of CatDog, Phil Moore, host of Nick Arcade, Rain Within, who was actually really pleased with, he saw me with a hoodie of these two Fox characters of mine. while I was seeing him at his concert when he came to Boston 2 months ago. Seemed really impressed. Yeah, he really loved White. He really loved seeing that. He's a really good musician. Check out his music if you can. Raymond Wong, Rich Moore, Richard Blosser, the Hershey Bears fan, who I'll be seeing again in March when he comes back to New England. Richard Foreman, Ronan Harris, Roy Bowe, Shane Deepwood, the late Sidewalk Sam. I received praise from him as well back in 2005 when I drew Frosty at this particular event I was at. Loved what he saw. Stevie Boudreau, Tex Avery, Telt Longtail, Tony McGinnis, Valdor Fox, and Walter Hoyt. But that's not all. There's more coming. Okay, Accolade, Adobe, American Legion Post 156 in Waltham, Massachusetts, and Junibeats, Anthro New England, Anthrocon, Aquafina, Autodesk, the CWHL, Canadian Women's Hockey League, where the Worcester Blades play, Cosmic Gate, CVS, DeviantArt, Disney, Dunkin' Donuts, East Coast Hockey League, Facebook, Flashover Recordings, Freeze Pop, Frito-Lay, Fur Affinity, Furpocalypse, Hanna-Barbera, In a Pickle Restaurant, Instagram, Lyft, Market Basket, Metropolis Records, Micro Furcon, based in Central Massachusetts. I wonder if they're going to have another event like that again. Monster Energy, keep me awake and at the same time unhealthy. Just kidding. I know my limits. More for Less, the ones who created the Cyan Fursuit. National Hockey League, the National Women's Hockey League, Nesson, New England Sports Network, Newberry Comics, Nickelodeon, Nintendo, Patreon, Phantom Gourmet, Pine Furcon, Planet Fitness, Playful Corporation, creators of Super Lucky's Tale. I love that cute little foxy. The Point in Boston. That's a bar and restaurant. Poland Spring, the San Diego Chicken, Sega, the Southern Professional Hockey League, the SPHL, Systemax, Twitter, WAAF-FM in Boston, Warner Brothers, Weasel, YouTube. But there's more, and these aren't just thanks, they are super thanks. The Boston Renegades of the Women's Football Alliance, I want to thank them for having me perform as Cyan as their unofficial team mascot. You know, I was really happy to participate and generate joy to others at these games. And congratulations on the 2018 championship. It's a real honor being mascot for a championship team. I'd like to thank my mother and father, who has accepted me for who I am and why I draw. I mean, they are really proud of me designing Firestorm. I'd like to thank my sweet little dog Bella for giving me even more praise, even more joy, I should say. I want to thank everyone on the American Hockey League fans Facebook page. If you go look through the American Hockey League fans Facebook page, you'll see a picture of me with one of the users, Kevin Johnson. Me fursuiting at Wolfpack game late last October. I had a wonderful time just fursuiting there. Again, generating joy to others. I'd like to thank the American Hockey League, of course, because that's the league that this mascot fan art is based off of. And I'd like to thank everyone else who has supported and believed in me, making me continue to do what I love doing. You know, if I left anyone out, you know, I apologize. So here's to everyone else who has supported and believed in me. continue what I love doing. I wouldn't be making AHL Max. I wouldn't continue to draw. I wouldn't do any of this without all this support. I mean, I have all this fuel that I need to keep on using, need to keep on going, need to keep on doing art, reaching out for other people, spreading joy to other people. Just keep going for as long as I'm, breathing oxygen on this earth. I mean, thank you all. And this concludes our special presentation of Polar Wildcat Studios, Calder Claws, the making of AHL Max. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. You have a good night. It's already after midnight where I am. And drive safely.